Greetings.
See, you keep trying to do it, but it ain't flowing naturally, so you gonna laugh, man.
It's a process. It's a process. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for LTMB Live. Do want to apologize for the last broadcast. We didn't get to officially end it because, had some internet problems, so it just ended prematurely.
Yeah.
Bad news was that, we were almost going to be done. I mean, we're really
like five
minutes away or so. Didn't get to hear from our callers, so that was unfortunate. We did have a large audience on Tuesday as well, so we just hope that everybody comes back and we're ready to go. So we are broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. On YouTube, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you have not already done so, and please hit that bell as well so that you can get all of the new content from LTMB. Excuse me. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Probably won't get to some of the issues. Some of them will probably have to wait until next week. But because there's a lot going on in the news. Lots going on in the news.
Still be relevant next week, too.
Oh, yeah. A lot of this will still be relevant next week. We are the bomb. Moose Scout said we are the bomb.
Yeah, you can tell she over 30.
Yeah, you brought that from the 90s.
Yeah, you brought that from the 90s.
Definitely
At least you didn't say thebomb.com.
Yeah.
As a chick at my work, my job from years ago used to say that like every 5 seconds, man.
It is appreciated, though. It's appreciated. Appreciate that. Let's jump right into it. All right. Since excuse me, like I said, we do have a lot to cover. We're gonna get into it. We know that some people are gonna flow into the program, as the minutes pass. So don't have no worries about that. All right. So it's been almost 7 years since the mass shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, December 14, 2012. That day, Adam Lanza started the day by murdering his mother, then going to Sandy Hook Elementary School, where he murdered 20 children and 6 educators before killing himself. So since then, there have been over 2,000 mass shootings in the United States of America, and that has resulted in over 2,500 deaths. So what arose from that Sandy Hook Elementary shooting was the Sandy Hook Promise, an organization that seeks to stop gun violence and mass shootings at schools nationwide. So yesterday, on Wednesday, the Sandy Hook Promise aired an ad that definitely shook a lot of people to their core.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
All right. So that was the ad. Like I said, it did debut yesterday. Already has more than 1 million views on YouTube. I have to say I've never seen quite an ad, quite a commercial like that before. Shook me up, no doubt. I think it was, I think it's necessary actually, because as much as we have this conversation, not just we, but I'm talking about we as just people that are alive and are living in this country, especially, as we keep having these conversations about the effects and, the countless lives that are ended because of gun violence, especially gun violence at schools. it's always, you're just thinking about the lives. You don't really get to peek in and see exactly what these kids are experiencing. And not that this is actually showing you footage of kids that have experienced it, but it is giving you a glimpse of what it might be like and how terrifying that is. So, like I said, I think it's necessary to show something like that.
I feel like I got pump faked. Let me tell you why. Because I like the way they began the ad.
Just like regular, really.
Yeah, it kind of reminded you of back to school ads that like Walmart or Target put out. Yeah. Like it was like, my mom got me these new shoes. My mom got me this new sweater. Look at this Trapper Keeper. Do they make those anymore?
I don't know if they
My
do.
bad. So you can tell my age.
Yeah,
say Trapper Keeper.
No doubt.
Look at this folder. So they kind of lulled you into this like kind of sense of comfort. Oh, this is just a regular commercial, regular kids. And all of a sudden it kind of like, it switches up a little bit. And now these items that these kids wear or use from day to day, these normal items that their parents get them to go back to school, are now being used for a different purpose. And so that was well done.
It was very well done. And like I said, it, you know, especially the people that, and I don't know if this is going to really change anybody's opinions. You know, wherever you are right now, you know, if you're firmly in the camp where you don't want anything done in terms of gun control, I'm not sure if that does anything to you, but maybe it does. Because like I said, it's easy for somebody to say, hey, you know, that's an isolated situation. Hey, I'm sure there were other things at play here. We don't really have to do anything about gun control and things like that. But when you see it actually on screen, when you can see like how kids are, you know, what kids are actually going through, the fear, especially the girl at the end, you know, the fear in her eyes, hearing the steps, that's devastating to just watch. And like I said, the Sandy Hook Promise, what they do is they go around to schools and they really do try to preach to people about warning signs and detecting warning signs. And if you do see something, say something. They also try to, you know, construct or work with legislators to get, you know, certain policies passed, certain bills passed. And of course, you know, I think they've come a long way. It's been, like I said, almost 7 years since the Sandy Hook tragedy. And they are, you know, doing good work. You know, it's still a lot of work to do because, as everybody knows, since that day, even though many people were saying never again, you know, we're going to put a stop to this, not much has changed at all.
I know a lot of people kind of, in response to this ad and in response to kind of people highlighting mass shootings, particularly in school, a lot of people's responses are, well, you know, what are the chances that, you know, your child is going to die or any kid is going to die in a school shooting? It's very low. The shootings, you know, happen all the time. And like, the places where they happen most is not the schools. And I'm like, but we're talking about mass shootings in general. So we're not just talking about schools. So schools are a small part of this conversation. Like what are some other places they happen? Like nightclubs, malls, music events, you know, like movie theaters and whatnot. So schools aren't the only place these things happen. That's kind of one part of all this. Right. So I don't know, man. It just seems as if too often this conversation gets bogged down.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying? It's just too often it gets bogged down. And like nobody wants to address either gun violence or what causes it in any kind. Regardless of whether where people feel the solution lies, it doesn't seem as if we ever can even have a conversation. Right. Not even a conversation.
Not even the conversation.
You see what I'm saying? Not even talking about legislation yet. We can't even have the conversation. People are scared of the conversation.
Yeah. I think we addressed that in Florida after the
Post nightclub?
Well, no, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Because remember there was, I think it was a conversation. They wanted to have a conversation about some legislation.
That is right. They wanted to have a conversation about legislation. They got shut down. So it wasn't even like something that was going to come out of it.
No.
Like
Not immediately.
no legislation that was going to come out of it. Nothing tangible, nothing workable. No policy. Just a talk, and we couldn't even have that.
So that's, like I said, that's why I believe something like that is necessary for you to just get kind of like a glimpse of what it might look like in a school, and hopefully that does some work. Hopefully that does change some minds. These are situations that, if you talk about gun violence in general, talking about school violence, that, like you said, that's just a small part of it, but one life lost is enough,
Was that you who sent me that article or that video where there was a school being designed
Right.
specifically,
Yeah.
like, I guess, for mass shooting situations? They were designing the school.
Yeah.
You have that you sent
Yeah,
that to me?
I can't remember where it is now. I can't remember where it is now. But there's certain things that are being done in that school to try to combat if somebody comes into the school.
It's like they don't have, like, I don't know, whatever, like balcony areas or something where somebody could like stand up from a high point and target people from up top. There's just nothing like that. They have places and like areas. They have like the hangout areas. Mm-hmm. They have specific places where kids will be able to hide. Yeah. Like they'll have like the wall extends out in a certain way.
The wall extends out in the hallway. There's no lockers in the hallways anymore. Actually, the hallways are like curved so that you don't have just a straight shot. You can just aim down a straight shot.
So basically, they're just telling kids to zigzag. Mm-hmm. They're designing the hallway so the kids can be able to zigzag away from the bullets.
Yeah. One thing I didn't understand about that school, though, is that by taking the lockers out of all the hallways, actually, they're all in one specific location now.
So now
does not make sense.
So now all the kids are going to be gathered.
Yes, in
one
place,
location at any given time.
At any time, really.
Multiple times. Everybody's going to
between classes. They're gonna have to go right there for their whatever's in the locker. And it doesn't make sense.
Usually, what those individuals who do the school shootings, don't they usually go to those schools?
Yes, they're usually familiar.
Familiar with the school.
So if they want to cause as much damage as possible,
they would get familiar with the school.
They know where to go. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, kind of staying on this issue. For the first time, a report has shown that in the United States, gun deaths have surpassed vehicle-related deaths. This happened in 2017. So the report, and let's see, I have this here. The report released Wednesday by Democratic members of the Congressional Joint Economic Committee found that nearly 40,000 people were killed in the United States by a gun, including approximately 2,500 school-age children. In 2017, 37,133 people died in motor vehicle crashes, according to the Department of Transportation. So that, for, a lot of homosexuals, a lot of people that are Second Amendment enthusiasts, they always kind of try to chip away at the argument for gun control, saying that, look, how many people die from car crashes, from car accidents? It far surpasses how many people die from gun violence, from guns in general, suicides or whatever. Well, now we have it on the record that 2017, we have a different situation now, which is terrible. And you would think it would lead those people to act, to kind of shift their conversation now to say, hey, this is a growing problem. We have to do something.
At least a tiny measure.
Yeah.
A tiny measure. Just even a tiny measure, right?
Yeah, even a tiny measure, but I'm not.
You're not so sure that before that?
Not holding my breath on that. Also, additionally, the report found that race and where you live are key indicators in tracking gun violence and deaths. The report found that rural states have the highest rates of gun violence measured as a share of their economies, including Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and West Virginia. States with the highest rates of gun ownership, including Alaska, Arkansas, Idaho, Montana, West Virginia, and Wyoming have the highest rates of gun suicides. 60% of the total number of people who died from firearms died by suicide. That information really shouldn't shock anybody. Usually, rural states have the most laxed gun regulations of all. So, noting that these are the states where you see the most amount of gun deaths, it's just 1 + 1 = 2 at this point.
And so then you add in the economic factor in there. And it tended to me, obviously it's a little simplistic, but it does make sense. Yeah. I'm not saying there's some sort of conspiracy involved, or there's some representatives that know these people's economic conditions and knows what kind of situations they are in, but they will give them the opportunity to feel powerful with a gun to kind of smooth that stuff over.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because it makes them feel powerful, regardless of whether they're, economically deprived or not. Hey, we got our guns.
Yes. We have a way to defend ourselves.
We have a way to defend ourselves, and that gun makes us feel powerful. That's really all we need. But then, damn, we become depressed because of our situation.
And we have a gun too.
And we have a gun too.
We have a gun.
Wait, so those rural areas, right, that you mentioned, and in how guns are being used, right? I would have expected you to say, a lot of deaths occur because of hunting accidents. I was expecting you to go there, but you didn't. You said that you missed that, right? I'm pretty sure it was there. You just missed it.
No, it wasn't anywhere. It wasn't anywhere. No. Rural areas, economic situations, suicides. It's all jumbled up, and it look, the information is what it is. So also, of course, since the last 2 mass shootings that caught a lot of national attention in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, there's been this renewed attempt at a conversation about what should be done. We know that background checks are highly supported by the American people, no matter what ideology that you happen to have, whether it's conservative, progressive, libertarian, does not matter. Overwhelming number of people in this country support background checks. It's just that our congressional representatives seem not to want to do anything about it. So recently, the Attorney General, William Barr, he proposed a background check plan and dispersed that plan to a number of GOP Senate offices. It has not been received well at all. Has not been received well. It seems that they want to know before they decide, or even not even decide, before they will even comment as to whether they could support it, possibly support it, whatever. It seems that they want to know if Trump supports it, which at this point, Trump has not supported it. He has not said that he is in opposition to this proposal by this memo by AG Barr, but he hasn't said that he's supportive of it at all either. So
he's already backed off from the issue at least twice during his first term. So
he said a lot of things on the issue, and he keeps going one way and then the other way, and background checks, and then he'll
get a call from the NRA,
right?
And all of a sudden his position is like,
That's right. I'm glad you did mention the NRA because the NRA did have a response.
Of course they did.
To this memo, to this proposal by AG Barr. And so that response was given by Jason Ouimet, who is the executive director of the NRA's Institute for Legislative Action. And he said, "This missive is a non-starter with the NRA and our 5 million members because it burdens law-abiding gun owners while ignoring what actually matters, fixing the broken mental health system and the prosecution of violent criminals." So, prosecuting violent criminals.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in America.
It doesn't happen.
Violent criminals are just allowed to just run around all willy-nilly and do what they want. And law enforcement just lets it happen.
Yeah. That's the current state.
We have a problem with jails not being full enough.
Oh, wow. Wow. Fixing the broken mental health system. I wonder if there's something that could do that. wonder if there's something that could do that, like healthcare for all.
Yeah.
Like
Medicare, something like that.
I wish
like
there was
Medicare
something.
for all or something like that. I wish something like that was, being promoted by our politicians.
If there was, then the NRA would get right behind it. If only.
If only.
I mean, this is nonsense. Talking about it burdens law-abiding gun owners. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you burdened? Really? A background check burdens you. Really?
Well, so wait.
It's an undue burden.
I don't know if you messaged me this a few days ago, but you said something like, if they are law-abiding gun owners, then they're going to want to adhere to the law.
Yeah.
A new law, a background check. They're law-abiding.
Why wouldn't they?
But why wouldn't they adhere to a new law? So I don't understand the whole law-abiding argument. And if it's a burden on law-abiding gun owners, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of, if that is the narrative, what is the NRA saying about those gun owners? Are they saying that there's something that will prevent these gun owners from owning a gun?
They're presenting it as it's unfair, and at the same time saying they're law-abiding. It's an unfair burden for these law-abiding people. Aren't there burdens everywhere? Like things that you may not want to go through in life, but you just have to do.
I don't want to go through the driver test, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you got to get your license, right? You got to get. You got to get insurance, man. You got to have your car registered. I mean, like you
actually. That's not, that's just talking about your personal vehicle. Yeah. What about other vehicles you have to be authorized to drive, like tractor trailers? Mm-hmm. You have to go through months of schooling to be able to drive one of those. Right. That could be considered a burden too.
What if you want to become a police officer? Do they just hand you a badge and a gun?
No, you gotta go.
Oh man, I gotta do some testing?
I gotta go to the academy?
Really?
You know what else? There are some law enforcement departments, some police departments, they do a damn polygraph. I have a friend who is applying to be a police officer, and he says there's like the one he applied to. Yeah, they do polygraph tests. That might be a burden,
but it's necessary, right? I think you could say that it's necessary, but a background check. Oh no, that's so unfair. So really, we haven't even got into what the proposal is from AG Barr, like what the proposal will do. All right, so we'll do that now.
I'm sure. This is what I'm sure it is. I'm 1,000% sure this is what it's going to be about. It's going to be about confiscating everybody's weapons.
Yeah, all of them too.
All of them.
Right.
I know you're about to read that. Yeah.
I'm about to break it to you.
About to break
it to you. All right, so here it is, all right? Under the proposal, licensed transfer agents would not have an inventory of guns to sell, but would be authorized by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to conduct background checks through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. It would require that all commercial gun sales produce two forms, a bill of sale that would record the details of the sale, and a certification from either a licensed firearms dealer or transfer agent recording that a successful background check has taken place. In addition, if someone attempts to buy a firearm and fails a background check, that person would be reported to law enforcement officials, an idea that Senator Toomey, has introduced in a separate bill co-sponsored with Senator Christopher Coons. So, I left out the part. I left out the part about the confiscation.
Actually, I actually heard that part.
Oh, you did?
That was in there.
Oh, damn.
That was in there. I heard it. I'm not sure if the audience heard it, but you said you said it really fast.
I get it.
So if you like replay the video at like maybe speed that's 10 times as slow.
Oh, then you hear what you hear.
You hear what you
want to hear. Actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
So you hear gun confiscation, but like you mentioned, the vast majority of Americans approve of universal background checks, right?
Yeah, they do.
So the narrative that the NRA pushes that centers, their concerns on defending freedom and defending democracy don't hold water.
No.
Right? If that's the case, if the majority of Americans approve of universal background checks, then are they really promoting freedom and democracy?
No, because what democracy looks like in this case is background checks. That's what democracy looks like. I really want to be specific here about this particular proposal. It's really only about commercial sales. This has nothing to do with private sales whatsoever. The proposal from AG Barr has nothing to do with private sales. Private sales would still be able to bypass a background check.
I just don't, like, why does a lobbyist organization have any say in what legislation is passed? Now, I mean, I know there's an obvious answer to that question, so I'm just expressing my disgruntlement in the form of a question.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how everyone, I think, should feel. Like, why does this organization get a say in what legislation is passed? And they get a say even when the majority of people in this country want something different than what they want.
Right.
And like you said, it's like the incomplex and sensible legislation they're against is commercial sales, background checks for commercial sales, some commercial. So it's not even really universal background checks. No, it's not
universal background checks at all. And we hear from people that don't want anything done, really. They want to, like, I guess, a stronger fist as it relates to, like, criminals. You know, hey, these criminals should not have guns. There's some people that should not have guns. That's what some people say. These homosexuals, they will say some people should not have guns, right? In this legislation, like I just read off, if somebody tries to get a gun, tries to buy a gun, and goes through a background check, and they should not have one, then it will alert police officials. So that's good, right?
Because they were concerned about criminals having guns.
That's good.
But even now, currently, let's say someone gets pulled over, and I guess the police officer determines that there's reasonable cause to search the vehicle, or let's just say the person has warrants. Let's just say they see a bag of something on the seat, whatever. They have reasonable cause to search the car. Their license is suspended, and they go in the glove compartment and they find the gun.
Right.
And it's unregistered. What happens? Today, right now, what happens?
Probably gonna get charged.
He's gonna get charged.
Probably gonna get charged.
Also, this happens to a lot of people. This happened to Plaxico Burress, football player who ended up shooting himself in the leg in the club.
Yep.
What did he get charged with? Because he did something. He crossed something.
Yeah, he crossed state lines.
He crossed state lines.
Yeah, and he wasn't supposed to have a gun in that state.
In that state of New York.
Yeah, so he went to jail.
Yes. So there's already laws that are in place that are enforced that involve the criminal possession of firearms and actually guns being taken away from people who are not supposed to have them. So this whole narrative.
But this is an undue burden, though. This right here is an undue burden. One of the congressional Republicans who are against a proposal like this is Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky, Republican. We've talked about him before. You remember that whole ridiculous the climate change argument with John Kerry, where he completely embarrassed himself. That is the same Thomas Massey. But this is what he said about the proposal. This background check system has denied millions of people who should have been eligible to purchase a gun their God-given right to exercise their right to self-defense. Let's read that again. One more time. This background check system has denied millions of people who should have been eligible to purchase a gun their God-given right to exercise their right to self-defense. My gosh, that's an impassioned individual.
Impassioned, that's the word you're going to go with. You're going to go with impassioned.
Yeah, their God-given right. Now,
why should they?
No, but you do have a God-given right to defend yourself. Do you have a God-given right to defend yourself with, I don't know, AR-15, AK-57?
Surface-to-air missile?
Like, do you have that God-given right?
Tank? Can I go out and buy whatever, Apache helicopter? That's if they still make those.
Do you have a God-given right to bypass a background check? Really? foolishness.
Okay, so like again, even though it was a very short, foolish statement, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Because the eligibility hinges upon him thinking that him, along with certain people, have a God-given right to do those things. But there's a lot of people who don't believe in God,
right?
And there's a lot of people who don't believe in His God. So there's a lot. There's a suggestion in there that he's talking to a certain type of person, a certain group, and I do think that connects to what the NRA says about law-abiding citizens, burdening law-abiding citizens. Those are euphemisms for something. Yeah. No, some people. They're talking about certain people. They don't want certain people burdened. People who are God-fearing, Christians, and assumed to have privileges and rights that other people have, or other people don't have, or should be given preference over other people. And their burdens should be taken more seriously. So he's talking about a specific group of people.
It's ridiculous, man.
But, you know what this conversation reminds me of? Or reminds me of a point you make, actually, about Medicare for all. Because we already have a Medicare system, right?
Yes.
And so how is the current Medicare system that exists now, how is that categorized or defined?
The current one?
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, it's popular. Popular. It needs to be protected.
It needs to be protected.
Yeah.
But what is, like, something like a Medicare for all system characterized as?
Well, I would characterize it as...
Sorry, what do the people who oppose it vigilantly oppose it?
They categorize it as socialism.
Socialism?
Yeah, dirty socialism.
Okay.
Can't have it, won't have it.
I honestly see the same thing happening with this conversation. Because we already have background checks.
We do.
They're just not universal.
That's right.
Right? So why does the NRA and homosexuals demonize legislation that expands a system that already exists? So if we already have a background check system,
they should be in opposition to the entire background check system.
The entire background check system. They're not characterizing the system we have now as a burden on law-abiding gun owners or an affront to the Second Amendment.
Right.
So how does expanding that system make it those things? Make it a burden on law-abiding gun owners or make it an affront to the Second Amendment?
This is an excellent question. And I just wish we had an NRA official to ask that question too. I don't think anybody's actually asked that question to NRA official. So, and I don't anticipate that will be asked. And answered.
Oh, I was about to say that last one was probably the most important. Because even if it is asked, it would be completely avoided.
Can you imagine? Oh boy. All right, so let's move on. All right, so let's go to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so recently there have been some attacks on Saudi Arabian oil sites, and per the United States of America, per this current presidential administration, it is the fault of Iran. So the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, publicly blamed Iran this past weekend. Iran has denied any involvement in the attacks. President Trump on Monday said that he does not want war with Iran. He also said, and I have that here, he said, "Do I want war? I don't want war with anybody. We have the strongest military in the world. We have a lot of options, but I'm not looking at options right now. We want to find definitively who did this." So we also said in the White House on Monday, we have some video of what he said to reporters.
Mr. President, do you still think it's the responsibility of the Saudis to defend themselves?
No, I think it is certainly the responsibility of them to do a big deal of their defense, certainly. I also think it's the responsibility of the Saudis to, if somebody like us which are the ones, are going to help them. I know that monetarily will be very much involved in paying for that. This is something that's much different than other presidents would mention, John, but the fact is that the Saudis are going to have a lot of involvement in this if we decide to do something. They'll be very much involved, and that includes payment, and they understand that fully. But they're going to be, look, they're very upset. They're very angry. They know pretty much what we know. They know pretty much where they came from. And we're looking for the final checkpoints, and I think you won't be surprised to see who did it.
So that was on Monday, okay, and of course that was in the Oval Office before the whole White House press corps. Now on Tuesday, Trump went ahead and announced that there's going to be additional sanctions put on Iran, and obviously that was because even though he has not said so, I guess blatantly, seems as though he puts the blame on Iran for this attack on these Saudi Arabian oil sites.
Looks like they're already kind of establishing that Iran did this.
Looks like it. That's the way it looks. Even though, like I said before, Iran has said that they did not have any involvement with this. Now, there is somebody that did claim responsibility for this, and that is the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They've claimed responsibility for the attacks. Now, if you're familiar with the Yemen war, which the Saudi-led Yemen war, in which they are trying to recoup some territory in Yemen.
They are considered the aggressors.
Yes, they are the aggressors.
And I think those rebels kind of do have some sort of like alliance with Iran.
Right.
So anytime those rebels do anything, it's always going to be blamed on Iran. But I actually don't blame Iran.
Right.
I think they're on the right side in all this.
Mm-hmm. It's like you said. I want to kind of lead with what you said about, since there is a connection with these rebels and Iran, the United States is saying that, well, since there's this connection, they haven't put anything out. We haven't seen anything that suggests that Iran is responsible for this attack, but this is the place where the United States is going. And like I said, the additional sanctions on Iran, this is where it's going. So it's ramping up tensions with Iran. It looks like there's going to be some conflict, right? So I just say, if our position, the United States, is that because Iran is associated with these rebels, and so because of that association, they're guilty for this attack on the Saudi Arabian oil sites, then using that same type of logic, we're connected to Saudi Arabia, right? Who is responsible for that attack on the school bus that killed 40 children in Yemen? Because we're connected to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia was the one that actually launched a missile that hit that school bus full of children that were trying to go on a field trip. It was a U.S. missile that hit that school bus. So again, wouldn't that mean that we are responsible for that attack?
Automatically. Just built guilt by association.
Yeah. But as Trump said, no, it's not us. It was because what? Remember? Why did he say it? He said it was because the Saudis don't know how to use the equipment properly. This is foolishness. And again, it just seems as though there are certain people in the United States of America within this current administration that want to see some conflict with Iran.
Not only that, just kind of trust the word of Saudi Arabia. Because
Right.
what did Trump say? Oh, like they know what we know. They know what we know.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, these mugs that you trust, they executed a journalist and cut his body up, dog. Why would we trust Saudi Arabia?
Hey, you remember President Trump said that no, Mohammed bin Salman had no knowledge of this, and they said they didn't do it, so we trust them. Because hey, if we don't trust them, thousands of U.S. jobs are going to be lost. And then it changed so many times, like the amount of U.S. jobs. I think it began at like 50,000, then it went to like 100,000, then it went to hundreds of thousands, then it went to 1 million, 1.5 million. getting lost in the nonsense. But okay, but we do have to talk about the escalation, okay? Because recently there was an individual that was let go of his responsibilities from the Trump administration. And that was the former National Security Advisor, John Bolton.
JB.
Yeah. Now, John Bolton he's not a good guy. He's definitely not a good guy because I don't know if there's a conflict that he does not like.
True. Now, I mean, most people pay attention to politics, knew this before Donald Trump hired him, right?
Yes.
So Donald Trump knew this.
He had to.
Or those in his transition team.
Somebody.
Yes. We know Trump likes to appear to always, I guess, have control. He likes to make himself appear that he always has control. So there may be some decisions he makes unilaterally, but I don't think a lot of them are, especially bringing on John Bolton.
Yeah. And if his agenda, if his his outlook did not meet the outlook of somebody that he was bringing on, somebody would say something.
Somebody would say something, including Donald Trump.
Right.
Because Donald Trump, he picks the best people.
Right.
That's one thing Donald Trump, we don't believe that. We don't know what he means by the best people. But he tends to bring people on that align with him, align with his agenda, whatever that agenda is. Right. So I think it's safe to assume that there was something about John Bolton that Donald Trump liked.
I would assume that as well. But again, he has since been let go. He has been fired, and the reasoning that Trump provided was that they just didn't see eye to eye on some issues.
That's all he said. He says, I disagree strongly with many of his suggestions. That's what Trump tweeted.
Yeah.
Now, he hasn't given an explicit reason as to why he fired John Bolton, but people seem to have or feel the need to project a motive onto the situation. Is that not right?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to go to?
We can.
You want to go?
We can go there. We can go there.
All right. So there's this one fella.
There's one feller.
There's this one fella. You might be aware of him. Ajamu Baraka. Ajamu Baraka, back in 2016, was the Green Party's vice president nominee. Of course, on the ticket with Jill Stein. And look, this was a ticket that we supported.
Oh, no doubt. We were very vocal about it too. Wasn't ashamed. We didn't really get moved by people who said, "Oh, y'all were getting Trump elected."
Right. No. We weren't moved by that at all. And so, just looking at Baraka's history and just a lot of things that he did have to say on the campaign trail, he elicited a lot of support, and it was for good reason. I thought he brought a fire to that campaign that was needed, that was necessary. He was not afraid to say some things that you don't often hear.
No holds barred, just come out with it.
Right.
Not be afraid to address the pertinent issues that, tend to get ignored.
Right.
Kind of holding the United States accountable for its imperialism, along with, other countries as well.
Right. Holding accountability.
So that's kind of what that's why I was attracted to him.
Right.
Because he was, about holding the United States government accountable for what it does domestically and across the world. So can't hate on him for that.
No, you cannot. Why we're bringing him into this conversation, regarding Saudi Arabia, regarding John Bolton, is because he recently had a comment about Bolton's ouster. And so this is what he had to say on Twitter. AOC and liberal Democrats are to the right of Trump on an issue of Bolton. If these folks represent progressive politics in the United States, the liberal left in the U.S. has to be seen as enemies of peace and real human rights for the rest of the world.
Okay. I mean, I think I can side with him if he's going to just mention liberal Democrats. Sometimes I wish, people would do a better job at, differentiating who they're talking about and not just throwing everybody in one basket. Be very specific about who you're talking about. But I'm wondering why he centered the conversation on a particular person. That's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, you're not just centered, but began the conversation. So once you begin the conversation there, then you're establishing a narrative right there. Not just about her, but about anyone like her.
Yeah. And it's strange to include her in this type of narrative.
Very strange.
So, automatically after I see this, I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on.
Did she say something?
Yeah, did she say something? Because for what I know, and I don't know her personally, of course, but from what I know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to be, is not somebody that would ever be supportive of somebody like John Bolton. So I know there were several Congress members.
Yeah,
there were Republicans. There were some Democrats that came out and said, well, like, this was a bad move, or they didn't like the move.
But then I think a lot of that is actually being taken out of context. Like, there's maybe a few ridiculous comments that I heard from Democrats, but a lot of what people had to say, a lot of people saying, hey, we don't know about this, I think has been seriously taken out of context, and kind of people are interpreting these takes as ones that present John Bolton as some sort of good guy. I think a lot of people have a problem with John Bolton exiting, not because they think he's a good guy, but because they're going to replace him with somebody worse.
Yeah.
So it's not that they agree with John Bolton. They just said, ooh, this is not a good look, because, they probably want someone who is more in line with an agenda that's worse than John Bolton's.
Maybe even more hawkish.
Maybe even more hawkish. So.
Now, somebody like Mitt Romney, though, his comments about John Bolton were not in that vein. His comments were like, "Oh, you're losing something." His comments were like, "He's a value to the administration. He's a value to the country." So that's complete nonsense. We understand what John Bolton is. But anyway, again, I'm thinking about, okay, what in the world must AOC have said? So you try to find something, and she did say something about it on Twitter, and so she began her comments with a picture, actually. And it was a picture, and it had some words at the bottom. Of course, I think it was CNN.
Yeah, it was a screenshot of coverage from CNN.
Right. And so it basically was highlighting the fact that President Trump was taking the side of Kim Jong-un, North Korea's supreme leader, on Bolton, agreed with Kim Jong-un on Bolton, and I guess as a reason, or as a supporting argument of why he was let go. And so then after that, AOC tweeted actual words, and she said, obviously Bolton leaving is good. It was an enormous mistake to appoint him in the first place. One doesn't need to boost authoritarians to make the point. So given this information, and then going back to what Ajamu Baraka said, I fail to see how he made the connection.
He's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy, a very astute guy. I mean, he's way older than we are. So he has not only a lot of experience, but he has a lot of kind of accumulated understanding about the world that we don't. That's why we were attracted to him. That's why he can kind of with no hesitation issue some kind of corrective rhetoric directed at the United States.
Yeah.
So I do find it highly suspicious why he would include her in that. Yeah. It just seems very, Look,
he said AOC was to the right of Trump.
To the right of Trump. Now, why would he say something like that? That is obviously not true, judging from actually both of those tweets. Both of those tweets say something different. But the first tweet she was trying to get at was like, look, you don't have to support a dictator. You don't. That's not necessary. You can, you can support anti-war measures, if that's really your goal. You can do that without propping up someone who's a dictator and not treating him like some sort of nice guy. But I just think for some strange reason, people are spatially interpreting Trump's disagreement with Bolton to mean he liked war and I didn't. The tweet that said we disagreed strongly on many issues. Yeah. For some reason, people are projecting some sort of reason onto the situation, onto Trump. And they are somehow interpreting that to mean like, hey, John Bolton agreed with war and I didn't. And I was like, how can you jump to that conclusion? Like you mentioned, or actually like AOC mentioned, who hired Bolton?
That would be Trump, man.
So
he's tasked with appointing his own national security advisor.
So like, why are people approaching the Trump administration firing Bolton as a good move, as if they know the motives for doing so are benevolent? It might just be a lateral move and nothing else.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like there's just some simplistic calculations going on here. Like if bad guy 1 fires bad guy 2, that doesn't mean bad guy 1 is a good guy. That's simply put. Simply put. And I'm not congratulating the Trump administration for firing someone they knew was a war hawk when they hired him. And like I said, him being fired could just be a lateral move for them. You know what I'm saying? Because they just could have, I can see this happening, maybe, that John Bolton maybe wanted too much autonomy. I can see that happening. That might have been an issue. But like, people are acting like the Trump administration and Trump firing Bolton is an attempt to get out of wars, which is interesting considering the day after they fired Bolton, what popped off? All of this Iran shit popped off.
All of it popped off, man.
Right? So, like, is firing Bolton a good move if the hawkishness continues after Bolton leaves? Actually, not the hawkishness increased. The hawkishness increased after Bolton left.
Yes. So it just seems, for me, it just seems so utterly ridiculous that you would afford some type of congratulations or some type of applause to an individual that employed somebody that was a war hawk, employed somebody that lots of people were against. Trump employed him and then fired him, but you are congratulating him for firing the guy that was dangerous? Why'd you employ him in the first place? This is ridiculous. How should he get any type of credit?
He just hired the wrong dangerous guy, and you're giving him credit for firing the dangerous guy that he hired. And then, first of all, like, we're talking about all this together. So we have to talk about all this together. So the day after Bolton leaves is when all the escalation with Iran starts. So it just makes the whole narrative surrounding Bolton being let go, it just squashes it. It debunks everyone's narrative about it. It debunks everyone's I guess, push to, create some sort of, I don't know, a straw man villain out of Democrats, especially one particular Democrat. I'm talking about AOC. Why make her the villain? Like, you don't need to do that.
This, look, at best, again, this is phony attempt to appear woke.
Oh,
and like he's really with it, and he's trying to spread knowledge and really get at the facts and tell you people what's up, And AOC really isn't what she says she is. That's at best. At worst,
this lazy dog.
Yo, this guy is a complete fraud.
And at worst, and that's just kind of like speculative, based on this kind of nonsensical take. And like you said, it just seemed very, to me, it's like, I just call it performative wokeness, But for me, summing up this whole Bolton firing, it could be just, Bolton's veno interest conflicted with Trump's veno interest.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, but why make something out of it that is not? Trump to the right of AOC.
To the right.
Come on.
No, to the right of Trump.
I'm sorry.
To the right.
To the right of Trump. I'm confused.
Boy, you're doing a little bit too much. No, not a little bit. Boy, this is way too much. And then, we haven't even talked about the connection that Trump has with the Saudis as well. We talked about, the arms deal. We've talked about, Yemen, and...
Talking about how they're invested in him and his properties.
Oh, yeah.
That has nothing to do with it. Well, I don't see anything.
There's a article that was written by John Chait of a New York magazine. It was written recently. And in it, he says... the Saudis spent extravagant sums of money at his hotels in Washington, his being Trump's, Washington and New York. Earlier this summer, Saudi entourage of more than 24 stayed at Trump's resort in Scotland. These are just some of the details that have leaked out piecemeal. The overall scope of Trump's financial ties to the kingdom are opaque because Trump, with the support of the conservative movement and Republicans in Congress, refuses to disclose basic financial information. If this was...
oh, man, don't say it.
If this...
Don't say it. Don't say it.
If this was just by chance somebody else.
Okay, you didn't say it, but you did kind of say it.
Oh, I'm going to say it. If it was by chance about another figure, maybe somebody like HRC, Hillary Clinton herself, if it was just by chance about her, she had this link to the Saudis in this way.
Direct financial link that, benefited her. The Saudis, the royal family, they had a very direct business connection that enriched her. That was the case. Well, that was the case. What if that was the case?
Man.
But see, I think anytime you mention her name, people automatically, if you just, she doesn't have to be the center. She could be a reference because that's what you're just using her as.
Right.
You're using her as a reference. But anytime you bring up her name, people tend to become irrational because you brought her up.
This is why we know that corruption really does not matter to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Corruption is not even a second thought. It's way back there. Now, if it's corruption about somebody that you do not like, somebody that is very polarizing to you, not polarizing in a general sense, but polarizing to you. You can't stand this person, their policies, something about their past, their present, whatever. You don't like this particular individual. Corruption will be pretty much all that you talk about. If there is an argument to be made on corruption, you'll definitely be involved in that conversation. But if it is somebody that you have some appreciation for, like that you have some type of fandom about, like a Trump character, then corruption, what? Corruption? No. It's the deep state that is trying to do it to him.
But see, I don't even think it's that though, because see, when you're talking about that kind of fandom in the deep state, you're talking about staunch Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. I think we what also is included in that, or will include this conversation, is fandom by proxy. Fandom by proxy. You're not necessarily fans of Trump, but you're not fans of the opposition party. So you'll be more reluctant to criticize Trump because you think it automatically will give credence to the opposition party that you don't like either, which is irresponsible and disingenuous. I see a lot of that amongst so-called progressives. You know what I'm saying?
So there's different ways that you can look at where the fandom comes
indirect
from.
It's not they're like they're fans of Trump, but it's like they're anti-fans of they're just anti-fans of Democrats. So therefore,
by extension, they have to support whoever that other person is,
and not necessarily support, just be like not as critical.
Yeah, provide cover.
And we see a lot of that bullshit.
All right. Staying with Trump just for a minute, on Thursday, President Trump sued Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance in New York to prevent 8 years of his tax returns from being obtained. So this marks at least the third time that Trump has sued to block the release of his tax returns. But no corruption here. There's nothing to be seen here. There's nothing inappropriate. There's nothing. No, he just, I don't know. You know, even though he told the people before he was elected, no, I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna release him. Even though he told that. Yeah, even though
I
he
think
said
probably 2015, like
yeah,
a year before.
Yeah.
He said he would release his taxes.
Yeah, and now 2019, we're here. He still hasn't released them, but he's suing to block the release. But there's nothing shady here.
There's
nothing shady though.
What was the 19th?
Yeah,
it was the 19th.
Yeah, it was 19th.
So 10 days ago, he kind of made a concession, well, a rhetorical concession, in a kind of a brief, informal press conference at the White House. It was on the lawn in the White House, I believe, right? And he said something about putting together some financial documents and releasing those, but not until like right before the 2020 election. Not his taxes, though. This was like 10 days ago.
Well, he didn't specify, you see? It's a little obscure here. We don't know because he said that he will release a financial report by election day. And then he was actually asked, does that mean tax returns? Oh, well, didn't answer that question. It's like that question wasn't even asked. He didn't even say anything about it. So that you know that it doesn't.
He said he was going to release his taxes after he got elected. This was the first time.
Before and after.
Before and after.
Right.
Now he's kind of had this running excuse saying that he's under audit. But multiple people, including some actual billionaires.
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Yes.
Said yes, he presented his taxes
while under audit.
Yeah. So again,
it doesn't preclude you. It's your option. You can do it if you choose to.
So again, if he's lying, if he's not lying,
yes,
that just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
You wouldn't lie unless you had something to hide. And again, if he is so open to revealing his taxes and presenting his taxes for all to see, if he is open to that, like he claims he is, then why are you suing to not have them revealed? There's a simple fucking answer to that question. I know there's people out there that's gonna like try to bend themselves into a pretzel.
Oh, because they'll take it and then they'll try to twist it and make it mean this.
Presidential harassment. Presidential harassment.
No, it's just tax returns. It's standard practice.
Again,
standard practice.
You know what else? It's kind of amazing that like Donald Trump is a show and teller. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump is that kid that wants to bring all of his toys to show and tell. Just show them all. I got these big toys.
He's a complete showboat.
He's a complete showboat.
You know this.
He shows and tells, and he makes that clear. If he wins at something, or even if he thinks, even if he doesn't win at something, he claims that he does. He claims that he does.
He takes credit for things that he shouldn't be taking credit for.
So if there is something that he actually has a victory in, then
something that makes him look good,
he will not be afraid to present it. That's how Trump is. If he can show us something and prove anyone wrong, then he will.
I think that informal, little press thing that he was doing with the reporters, where he said that the financial report will come out before the election. He also said that when that report comes out, you'll see how much more, like, it's gonna.
He's like, you'll see how rich I am.
Yes, like more than what is expected. It's gonna come out looking even brighter for a situation. You don't even know his situation. You don't even know.
See.
That's what he said.
Of course, but again,
if that's true,
but see, he has to.
What is stopping you?
He has to do the most. He has to do extra because he has to make it look like he doesn't have anything to hide. You see what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, man. When this thing comes out,
it's gonna blow your mind.
It's gonna make me look like Mr. Biggs. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna look like what was that show? What's that show? With the ducks.
Oh, Scrooge?
Yeah, Uncle Scrooge.
The bin of money?
Yeah, that little tank that's swimming in the gold coins and stuff. Like, Trump will be the kind of do that.
But see, if that's already a situation, then why haven't you released your tax returns and just show everybody and shut everybody up? Look, I'm a billionaire many times over. Look at how I do. Okay. All right. Okay. How much you want to make a bet? I wish somebody would make this bet with me too. That he will not provide his tax returns by 2020. By election day 2020. I think that's a good bet. I wish somebody, if I could find somebody.
Pretty sure.
Something.
No. I'm pretty sure you can go online because there's some crazy bets online and things that you can bet on that don't pertain to sports. That you can win money for. I guarantee you it's out there somewhere on Reddit or something. But
all right, let's stay with AOC for a moment. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York's 14th district, she has made her first endorsement for the 2020 elections. And the endorsement goes to Marie Newman from Illinois. Marie Newman is challenging Dan Lipinski, the incumbent Democrat that has been there for some years, is one of the most conservative members of the Democratic House. Now, she did challenge Lipinski back in 2018, just last year, and she lost. It was a very narrow victory by Lipinski. It was just over, I believe, just over 2,000 votes. So she definitely did have a chance. We believed that she would actually win that race. There was a lot of momentum for her. It is a very deep blue district. So really, it's whoever wins that primary is going to win the election in November. So I think she would have been a good addition. She has some definitely some good positions. Progressive positions that we would like to see in the House. We need some more people like that. So she's going to give it another try next year. And she does have the backing of AOC. Also, she has the backing of Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren as well. So hopefully this, just this added fire to what's behind her will work out, and she will be able to defeat Lipinski. AOC said about this situation with Newman, her endorsement, and Lipinski. She said, Marie Newman is a textbook example of one of the ways that we could be better as a party, to come from a deep blue seat and to be champion all of the issues we need to be championed. The fact that a deep blue seat is advocating for many parts of the Republican agenda is extremely problematic. We're not talking about a swing state that is being forced to take tough votes. And that is absolutely true. Again, this is a deep blue seat. There is no reason for a Democrat to be in that seat and to feel like, well, if I don't vote with the Republicans in a certain way some of the time, the voters are going to make me pay for it.
Because that's essentially what Lipinski is.
Yep.
That's why they call him a conservative Democrat, specifically because he's what, anti-LGBT,
anti-abortion.
Anti-abortion.
Yep.
He's against the ACA. Against the ACA now.
Wow. So he's not for Medicare for all.
He's not for Medicare for all. And so Lipinski, he's a little bit bitter. He's a little bit bitter because of this endorsement. And he released a statement. And in this statement, he said that AOC's endorsement makes crystal clear that she's an extreme candidate, Newman, who is out of step with the voters of Illinois' 3rd District, who do not want to be represented by a 5th member of the squad.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm just like, first of all, Newman's positions existed before AOC's endorsement, right? So why all of a sudden is she extreme now because of AOC's endorsement? Right. Like, that doesn't just sound like some like empty contentiousness. That sounds like some dog whistling. Because why would you bring that up? That sounds like some dog whistling, like, I guess that's meant for certain voters in his district.
That sounds like some Republican type.
Exactly. That sounds like a play out of the conservative Trump playbook. Why would you kind of invoke that, the squad? Because you know who else invokes the squad? Trump. And why did he invoke the squad?
Well, he opposes them.
He opposes them, but for what reasons, though? For very bigoted reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not. Well, I mean, of course, I believe he does oppose them with issues, but it's deeper than that.
But wait a second. So if AOC's endorsement means that Marie Newman is extreme, then who else did you say endorsed Marie Newman?
That would be Senators Elizabeth Warren and Senators Bernie Sanders.
So I guess according to Lipinski's logic, that would make Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren the 6th and 7th members of the squad.
They are now official members of the squad. Yes.
Actually, there's an 8th member.
Because
guess who else endorsed Marie Newman?
Who's that?
Ro Khanna.
Is that right?
Yes, he has done this many times, and he actually put out a tweet, I think it was yesterday, and it says, Lauren Underwood, AOC, and I are so far the Democrats endorsing pro-choice Marie Newman over anti-choice, anti-ACA, anti-LGBTQ, anti-equality, Dan Lipinski. Honest question, shouldn't endorsing Marie Newman be a no-brainer for anyone who is a progressive in Congress?
Should be.
It should be. So I guess Ro Khanna is that 8th member of the squad. So it just sounds like Lipinski is butthurt that progressives are supporting other progressives. Yeah. But I do think it's interesting that he would call them extreme, even though he's anti-LGBT, anti-ACA, anti-abortion. But they're the extreme. They're the extreme ones.
But look, you know what a lot of like I haven't heard any backlash as of yet about this endorsement from AOC. I haven't heard that yet. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough or what. But we do know that there has been backlash on AOC because of her, I guess, her propensity to back somebody that is challenging an establishment candidate, an incumbent candidate.
Oh, where are you going? You going somewhere with this?
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen that yet, but again, she has caught in flack for that because they expect that she will back a contender to an incumbent. So where I'm going with this is that there is going to be a primary challenge to one Democratic senator. And that Democratic senator is, who's that guy again? Ed Markey. Ed Markey in Massachusetts. Senator. I believe he's, he's trying to get a second term. He was just elected in 2013. So he's trying to get to a second term. And guess who's going to be challenging him?
I'm pretty sure. Wait a second. Have you said who AOC endorsed yet?
No, I haven't. I could say, well, AOC does endorse Ed Markey. And that's not surprising. Ed Markey is one of the most progressive senators in the House. I mean, in the Senate.
So she's...
He worked with her on that Green
New Deal.
Yes. So this is not news.
So basically what this shows is that she's not just indiscriminately like targeting incumbents.
No. Just certain.
She's supporting, I guess, certain candidates or, I guess, certain members that are have elected members that kind of align with her agenda, align with her policy proposals.
Yeah. And I would think that
policies that she advocates for.
The people that she is going to be lending her voice to on the campaign trail, if they are challenging an incumbent, I have a reason to believe that it's just not going to be everybody. And it's going to be cases where the incumbent needs to go, and there's a significant reason why. Somebody like a Lipinski.
So she's just not trying to just tear the house down for no reason.
Even the moderates, I don't think she's just gonna be backing every single challenger to moderates. I just don't think that. But anyway, back to the guy. It's a guy who is who's challenging Ed Markey's seat in the Senate. That would be current Representative Joe Kennedy III, Democrat Joe Kennedy III from Massachusetts. He's expected to make a formal announcement this weekend, I believe Saturday, that he is going to challenge Ed Markey's current seat in the Senate. So this is Democrat on Democrat crime.
D on D?
Yeah, D on D crime.
D on D crime.
He's trying to take an incumbent Democrat's position. And you know what I haven't heard? Haven't heard any backlash.
I'm pretty sure it's coming. I'm pretty sure that the same backlash that AOC and a lot of progressives received when they challenged incumbents is coming for Kennedy too. I'm sure that backlash is coming.
Because we have a different situation here. Because it is not a progressive that is challenging somebody who is moderate centrist.
Wait a second. What are you trying to say here, man?
We have a centrist who is challenging the progressive.
So what's he trying to say? Is trying to say there's a double standard, and it's not about challenging incumbents, but it's more about like progressive policies that they have a problem with. Yeah, challenging leadership.
Yeah, I think they like light blue Democrats better than dark blue.
So it's like some weird inter-party so this is the real Blue Lives Matter. This is the real Blue Lives Matter we got going on in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but what type of blue you
What type of blue?
Yeah, man, that matters, man. But I just thought that was really interesting that an incumbent is being challenged by another incumbent. So obviously Joe Kennedy, he has aspirations, you know. He is a very ambitious guy, and he believes it's his time to be in the Senate. And to do so, he's going to challenge a progressive Democrat. That's very interesting.
We talked about Kennedy maybe once before, not much.
At least once or twice. Because he did
State of the Union response, and we were just like rhetorically it was good, but
there were some parts that were definitely good. But knowing who he is, you know, he's not a progressive. He doesn't even try to act like a progressive. On many issues, he is not there. He's definitely not there. He is a centrist to the core. So, no, he would not be an addition to the Senate. He would be a subtraction. Also, staying with AOC just for a moment, she will have a challenger, or at least one at this point that we know of. She's going to have a challenger. I think we may have kind of briefly talked about the Republican that's going to be challenging her.
Yeah.
But we're not going there on this. There's going to be a Democratic challenger to her, and her name is Badroun Khan. So she is a local activist in Queens, I guess a longtime activist, and she believes that I guess she has what it takes to occupy that seat and make some real change. On her campaign website, she says that she will fight for, quote, real results, not empty promises, end quote. So that definitely does suggest that the current representative for the 14th district in New York is not, I guess, really making real change. Is promising things that cannot be delivered. That would be AOC, I guess. That would be AOC.
I guess that's the game now. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to run against somebody and claim that they want too much.
Yeah.
So because you want too much and because you want the country to move forward, that means you're useless. Because, hey, you can't get it done. That's kind of what the game that people are running on now. I'm going to run against this person because they want too much change. And see, they can't get that stuff done. Let me get in there, and I'm going to get the things done that we've already gotten done. I'm going to maintain the status quo, which technically means I'm getting stuff done. I'm just getting the same stuff done.
Yeah. So, well, the stuff I'm getting done is just to keep things where they are.
They are. So, but that technically still means I'm getting stuff done. So when they say I can
have to stop the change.
So if they say, if they're running on that, if that's their campaign, I can get stuff done. Yeah. To me, and the stuff they want done is really kind of just status quo extenders, then
she got to be the brakes. She got to be the brakes on the whole thing. She's campaigning to be the brakes. We're advancing too far. If you look at her, just her platform, what she stands for, she's definitely not even she's not a progressive. So and it kind of, it doesn't make any sense to me, because if you're going to challenge AOC, I would think that you would have to come from a place where you have a similar type of platform.
You have to,
but you're able to present her in a way where it's like, well, you know, she's failing on this and she's kind of failing on this. And you know what? I have a tried and true record. You know, you can look at my record. You can see the progress that I've made. And I think I just will be a better advocate for the people here. This candidate, Khan, she's not even Joe Crowley. She's not. She's less than. She's more of a centrist than Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley actually, now take him at his word or not, but he did come to a place where he was supportive of Medicare for all. She's not. She's not. Actually, on many progressive positions, she's nowhere to be found whatsoever. So I'm marijuana. Don't believe she's there. Minimum wage. I don't believe she's there. Healthcare. Not there. Criminal justice reform. Not there. I'm like, this is who's going to take down Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
First of all, like, if you're going to take down someone, especially someone who got elected, you would kind of have to, I guess, construct a campaign and a strategy and agenda that, like, at least matches up with them, because they got elected. People voted for them, so people voted for what that person represents.
Right.
People voted for what AOC represents. So why? Why does she think that she can just step up in here with something completely the opposite and say, yo, I'm better than her? Like, that's not what better means. In this case, you can't say you're better, because you would have to say you're better in a way that, like, points to you being better at what AOC is doing.
AOC beat a 10-term, powerful representative. And Khan wants to take that district back to something that is worse than Crowley. She's going to get pummeled in the primary. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing, man. But this is what she signed up for. All right. A little bit of news about Bernie Sanders' campaign. So the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign announced on Thursday that it has surpassed 1 million individual donors, making Sanders the fastest candidate to reach that mark. Also, reportedly, over 99% of those donors are able to contribute again. So I believe the total amount of donations has been over 2.5 million. This is a sustainable campaign. Again, we saw that in 2016, but I think what we see here is an operation that's being run even better.
Unfortunately for some, not us, of course, not us. Unfortunately for some, Bernie Sanders is not going away.
Nope.
Bernie Sanders is not what, a lot of Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren's tell Bernie to do. It's move over Bernie.
Right.
It's kind of a hashtag. It's not happening because he has a lot of support. If he didn't have a lot of support, or if he had like 2% or 3%, it would make sense for people to say move over. Yeah. But we all know that that kind of sentiment is only targeted at Bernie, as if there's not 18 other males in the field. My question is, why is Bernie the only male? If it's about move over for Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or any other woman unconditionally, why is that sentiment only directed at Bernie Sanders?
Yeah, we don't hear that about.
We don't even hear it.
Cory Booker,
Buttigieg, O'Rourke. No. So is it really about that, or is it about you see Bernie as being better than them?
A monster.
You see Bernie as being better than them, and you know it. Otherwise, that sentiment about move over and drop out Bernie, it just wouldn't apply to Bernie. It would be move over everybody. All males, get out the way.
Like you said, if he was really down in the polls, and I'm going to get to the polls in a second, but still, if he was down in the polls at this point, then I guess you could say, well, damn, whatever he had in 2016, it just didn't extend to 2019, 2020. So it's probably a wrap, Bernie. You probably don't need to be in this race much longer.
I think people expected that. I think people expected that. I think people
because they adopted his positions, right?
Yeah, I think people expected the excitement and the support for Bernie to go down because in between campaign seasons, it's kind of like that. But the support for Bernie never let up because he was always in the midst of some kind of activism.
Yeah,
he was still active.
Right.
So, a lot of people say, oh, he's big because he has name recognition or whatever. I was like, that may be true.
But how did he get the name recognition?
It's like when people say name recognition, usually that's reserved for people like the Kennedys.
Right.
Or the Bushes.
Or the Clintons.
Or the Clintons.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really say that about Bernie Sanders. It's not like you have like some sort of dynasty.
No.
You know
and this is recent name recognition too. Prior to 2015, again, he was in the Senate, so yeah, of course people knew him.
2.5 years of name 3 years. 3 years of name recognition, man.
Yeah.
Building up that name recognition.
No.
3 whole years.
He didn't make it to the national scene until 2015. Not to
that degree.
To that degree, yeah. But anyway, like I was saying about the polls. So we know that the polls are saying many different things. And in most of the polls, Joe Biden is leading. It could be state polls, national polls, whatever. Most of them, Joe Biden is leading. I've seen some polls that are indicating that, Elizabeth Warren is on the rise. She's really taking it to Bernie Sanders. And, Bernie Sanders is tanking. And some polls he's first. Some polls he's second. Some polls, I've seen polls where he's fifth. So, look, I keep saying it, you definitely have to take these polls with a grain of salt. And what these polls seem to not be capturing is actual bodies.
Tangibles.
Tangible support. Now, you can call landline phones all you want to. And you can try to...
The landline phones of people over 50.
Yes. You can try to reach some kind of, place where it tells you something. Hey, all these respondents that I called on these landline phones, they seem to be for Biden, man. So I think Biden's going to win.
All the respondents are like 50-year-olds whose favorite show is Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
Still.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Again, nobody has the tangible support. Nobody has the organization. Nobody has the manpower that a Bernie Sanders campaign has. So again, we still have a long way to go. This is still, we're coming on to the end of September. Still have, there's 3 months left in this year. No. Yeah, 3 months left in this year after September. A little bit over 3 months. And then January is, I believe, that's when the Iowa caucus is, and New Hampshire.
That's when the games begin.
That's when the games begin, and like I said, I am definitely not counting Bernie Sanders out to be running a team so strong and to have numbers like this. Doesn't matter really how much that these individuals are donating to Bernie Sanders. What matters is that they're donating at all. What matters is that they feel like there's something here to his campaign. What matters is they feel like I'm going to donate my money and my time, because there's a lot of different volunteers all throughout this country that are volunteering their time for his campaign as well. So again, it's tangible support. It's actual bodies that are supportive of his candidacy. So I don't think that is actually reflective in these polls. So we'll see. We'll see. Does Biden have an organization like that?
Hell no. Biden's organization is like people with landlines and who have had hip replacements.
Oh snap!
That's
why they buy their landline, because they can't get. Too much, man.
Got some ageism going on here at LTMB.
That is some ageism. But hey, you do know, man, once you get older, man, it like you be hearing people like, man, they just walking and somehow they broke something. Mm-hmm. Like that's crazy.
It doesn't really take much. It's not like you gotta fall down some stairs. You could just step off the curb wrong.
Yeah.
Just bend over wrong.
Yeah, man.
Kneel down wrong, and you in the emergency room.
Yeah, man. All right. We only have a couple more stories. Let's go to Buttigieg, man. Let's go to Buttigieg. I really didn't know if I even wanted to do this, because it's Buttigieg. Like, how much do I want to talk about him? You know? That's why I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into it.
But see, he's still in the race.
Yeah, he's still in the race.
And he's kind of still like in that
he's still relevant.
Yeah. He's still kind of being talked about. He's still kind of in, I would say he's like in the second tier.
Yeah,
I would say he's still in the second tier.
You know,
like Biden, Warren, and Sanders in the first tier.
No doubt.
And then you got, I would say, Castro, Booker, Kamala, and actually Yang now.
Yeah. Maybe O'Rourke.
O'Rourke and Buttigieg. That's a big second tier, but yeah.
It's a big second tier.
Yeah, but yeah, he's in there.
I don't think I would include Klobuchar in this.
No, I would not. Bill Maher. Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Oh, she's just gonna come from nowhere. Boy, you know what? Amy Klobuchar.
Shout out to Crystal Ball. That was funny.
No doubt.
That was funny.
I put up those emojis, with strength.
Yo, did you see her face she made? She was like when he said that, man, that was funny.
But all right, let's get to Buttigieg. All right, so the South Bend mayor, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg, we all know is a Democratic presidential candidate, and he's had some problems throughout this this campaign season, and a lot of those problems have they have revolved around the subject of race. There has been an issue that has been plaguing him for some amount of years, actually, but hasn't been talked about in the debates, at least, yet. I don't believe it's been talked about has it been, was it on the debate?
I think it was one time.
It may have been
And I think that was when it was a debate where him and Swalwell had that stare down.
Okay.
I think it was mentioned then. But I think your point still kind of stands, but it wasn't, they never dived deep into it. Or they didn't really like ask specific questions that would kind of prompt him to kind of give a detailed explanation as to that situation. I think it did get brought up once, but not as much as it should have.
Well, this I guess this conversation revolves around the first black mayor, the first black police chief in South Bend, and his name is what's his name? Darrell Boykins. So Darrell Boykins was demoted, I believe eventually fired. And there was a lot of furor over that because, again, this was the first black police chief in South Bend. And a lot of people didn't understand why. I mean, why would you fire him? What did he do wrong? So there's been a lot of questions without a lot of answers. So recently, TYT Investigates, they unearthed some information. So a lot of this information has not really been heard before. So this this revolves around Boykins and some tapes, some secretly, I don't know about secretly, actually, some recorded tapes from police officers in South Bend, and them apparently making some very racist comments about Boykins, some comments about Pete Buttigieg himself. It seems as though there was some type of effort to get Boykins out of his position as the police chief. And how they wanted to do that was through Pete Buttigieg's donors. So as they were telling it on the tapes, they were saying that there were two particular donors that they could go through to put pressure on Pete Buttigieg. Now, there's no confirmation that is exactly what that happened. At the time, Pete Buttigieg was campaigning to be the mayor of South Bend. Ultimately, he did become the mayor, and then shortly after that, Boykins was indeed demoted. Now, Pete Buttigieg has said that the reason why he was demoted was because of a federal investigation. The FBI was thinking about charging him, this and that.
That's strange because, why would you demote somebody when the conclusions of an investigation really haven't been, put out there and put out there in a very, very definitive way. So to me, I thought that was weird. Oh, there's an investigation. So,
yeah. And the investigation was about what Pete Buttigieg says is the investigation was about these tapes and how, it shouldn't have been done. It broke some laws, this and that. He could go to jail, this and that. He was never charged with anything. Nobody ever said that it was even a crime. The whole way that this whole, the taping began was because of some problem that was being experienced at the department. And so they started recording conversations, and somebody who actually heard the tapes, you know, I guess there was a problem, you know, it was backed up. And so she started listening. This was a police employee, and she started listening to the tapes. And what she heard was a lot of racism. And it wasn't just directed at Boykins, it was directed at some other black police officers. But towards Boykins, they would say, like I said, they would use ebonics, you know, try to say that he was, I guess, in the tank, like he was supportive of gang members because, of course, they were black. Nothing tangible about like him failing at his job responsibilities or anything like that. Just really because he's black, that's why they wanted him out. One of them made the comment saying something like, it's going to be a fun day, or it's going to be a fun time when all white people are in charge. So again, I don't know how many people have heard these tapes, but one particular person did. And I believe she wrote it, you know, I believe she kind of exposed what she knew, but not to everybody. Pete Buttigieg has said that he has never heard the tapes.
He doesn't seem to be interested in listening to the tapes.
Because he said it would be a crime to listen to him. That's what he said.
That is some tired and weak shit. Now, if he's going to say that, you know, there may have been some issues with Boykin recording and that being against the law, but, you know, Boykin hasn't been prosecuted for that. But let's just say that is the case, and there was kind of a chance for him to be prosecuted, and that was against the law. I mean, I think it's a legitimate stance if that's the case. But to act as if there's nothing else to the story and it ends there. Wait, the recordings were illegal, so, you know, I don't want to hear them.
Right.
You know, so to say the recordings were illegal and I don't want to hear them, that seems to be a move that someone would make when they don't want the entire picture.
Seems like you're hiding something.
It just seems like you're hiding something. Now, I'm not saying he's lying and saying he has heard them, but the fact that he is trying to skirt around listening to them, knowing what the subject matter is, seems a bit suspicious to me. Why would he not want to even hear them? That sounds like the behavior of a man who's been influenced. That's all I'm saying, because it actually doesn't make sense, because he can talk about the law all he wants in regard to what Boykin did, but you can't get around what Boykin recorded and what he was trying to do and expose. If that doesn't matter to the Pete Buttigieg, I have some serious questions, and it doesn't make sense. And Buttigieg is I would say he is the smartest candidate intellectually. So to me, that rationale does not coincide with his intelligence. So there has to be something else at play here. It has to be influenced in some other way, because it doesn't make sense why he wouldn't even want to hear the tapes.
And not only did he say that he did not listen to the tapes, he said that he did not know what was on the tapes. But I do believe that the city's, the city's attorney, I believe they heard the tapes, or they know what's on the tapes. So to suggest that they know, but Pete Buttigieg does not know, which he has asserted, he has no idea what's on the tapes, and it's like he doesn't want to know. I don't think it really, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, there was no wrongdoing, and like you said about the whole taping operation, I don't believe this was like, I don't know if Boykins even knew it was happening at the time. I don't know who actually made the decision to start recording, but it wasn't to, like, the purpose was not, hey, I think there's some racist cops, let's get them on tape. That wasn't the purpose whatsoever. It just so happens that they said some bullshit on these tapes, and then somebody heard it, and it was like, oh shit, I think I should say something about this. And then actually she was fired too. She was fired, you know, a little while after that. Actually, it was about a couple weeks after Boykins was demoted. That's when she got fired. So actually, both of them are suing the city. And they really haven't said too much about the tapes and about this whole thing, because, of course, this is still undergoing, you know, it's still in the lawsuit process. The big takeaway here, I believe, is that these police officers seem to think that they had a reasonable shot at influencing Pete Buttigieg through his donors. Once Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of South Bend, it wasn't too much time until Boykins was demoted. So the goal was attained. If you're telling me that Pete Buttigieg had no knowledge of what the goal was, I don't know if I buy that.
That's why I said like
maybe on the front end he didn't know.
Maybe on the front end he didn't know.
But I don't know, man. It looks really bad. Looks really, really bad. And how he is saying this as like it's something that he has no knowledge about the tapes. He has no knowledge about what's on the tapes. And the reason why he did demote Boykins was because of the tapes and because of a federal investigation and how he might be charged in criminal acts. And there's nothing there. Nobody charged him.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's
nobody's even threatened to charge him.
That's why it's disingenuous. Because if your reasoning for firing Boykin, if his reasoning for firing Boykin was because of the tapes, these so-called tapes, he would be curious as to what is on those tapes and not just kind of shove that aside or push that aside. Like the whole thing seems very suspiciously hands-off.
Yes. Now, look, in that city, since Pete Buttigieg has been a mayor too, there's been a lot of animosity when you're talking about race relations. And at the time that Pete Buttigieg took over as mayor, I don't know if I have the exact numbers, but let's put it like this. There were a lot more black police officers on the force at the time that he took office to now. It's a significant decrease in the percentage of black employment at that department. So when you go to a comment by one of these officers saying that I can't wait until all the white people are in charge, when you go to the city's first black police chief being fired, and this all surrounds Pete Buttigieg, but it doesn't touch Pete Buttigieg, it has nothing to do with Pete Buttigieg himself. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that, man. All right. Actually, what's left is that story that we didn't get to finish on Tuesday.
Oh, the kid who had his hair colored in. Yeah. Those who are watching the show, they witnessed our internet go out. Yeah. Now they didn't know that was the case. Right. But the internet went out, so there's literally nothing we could do. It wasn't a streaming issue. Anytime there's a streaming issue, we usually kind of just restart the stream. But we couldn't get on, and oddly, we waited like 30, 40 minutes? Yeah, we tried to wait, but it just didn't work. Yeah, we were like, we can't come back. It's already. And then when your boy tried to call, he's on the phone. Now, he's not on the phone with like an actual human. It's the little automated system. About 1 minute or 2 minutes? Maybe not even that. Not even that minute. He's on the phone trying to see if he can like talk to a person, but he's automated. All of a sudden, it comes back on. Yeah, all of a sudden, man. All of a sudden, whack. Answering Jean, she said what the precinct population looks like in South Bend is 26% black in South Bend. I wish I had the exact numbers. Like I said, I can't tell you the exact numbers of what the percentage of black employment was at that department at the time that he took office. But from then until now, it has decreased significantly. And if you do read, I believe if you read on TYT Investigates the story about this, I believe it goes into that. So, like I said, it just seems as though the mission was accomplished. And the mission had to do with going through Pete Buttigieg. You're telling me that he has no hand in this? He's the one that made the decision to demote this guy. Like, he had no hand in this? A lot of people are saying that, this is kind of a non-story. When I went to watch the video myself, it's an 18-minute video. I watched the whole thing. It was a very thorough job. Yeah, it was. And in the comment section, I was quite surprised at some of the comments. 90% of the responses were like, this is a non-story. You just used Pete Buttigieg's name in the title. This is clickbait. This has nothing to do with him. I was like, wait a second. police organization, a police group, tried to buy his influence. You know what I'm saying? Tried to buy his influence. Like how does that not have to do with Pete Buttigieg?
I don't know. Look, it's definitely important because we're talking about this as it relates to a presidential candidate. You know, look, if he wasn't a presidential candidate, it would still be, if this was unearthed, it would still be something to talk about because it's happening on that type of level. I mean, the mayor of South Bend, he is, you know, he's the top official in that city. In that city, so that type of corruption, no, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that in any city. But if Mayor Pete Buttigieg, if he can be corrupted at the mayor level, then what do you think is going to happen if he's at the top executive in the country level?
Look at the Stanley Stewart. That's a great point.
Yeah, this is a very significant story given the only experience Pete's running on is his time as mayor. That's true. And what do you have to do, like when somebody, Mike says this, this guy's applying for a job. This guy's applying for a job. He's trying to become the next president of the United States.
So what do?
There's a vetting process.
They look into your background.
They look into your background.
They call up your references.
Exactly.
They see, okay, let's see if he graduated from this school.
Right.
He worked for this organization. So, yeah, a lot of stuff comes out. I did see a lot of comments like that. Why are they covering the story? I mean, they wouldn't be talking about this if he wasn't running for president. I'm like,
that's the point.
That's the point.
What happened to your boy? Not your boy. What happened to Roy Moore?
A lot of that stuff came out when he was running for office.
Yes.
Because people start looking into a candidate, rightfully so. I also saw comments that, that said something, like I'm paraphrasing, but it said something like, this happens in other cities too.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay, and if the mayors or any kind of somebody representing those cities, but particularly somebody like a mayor, if they were running for president, it would probably come out about them too, but they're not running for president.
Exactly.
You expect them to cover like every single mayor of every single city? Like
it would probably take you shining a bright light on yourself for some things to come out. That's the point. That's the point, man. You reminded me, because you're talking about comments. This was related to the earlier story that we did, though, about the whole gun control argument and background checks. I went to Thomas Massey's, the representative from Kentucky that talked about a God-given right to defend yourself. I went to his Twitter profile, and he made the same kind of comments. I think he left out the God part, but he was still talking the same kind of nonsense, right? And there was one particular comment that said, yeah, man, if the government puts you on the list, that means it's a kill list. Whoa. Yo. If you're on a list, so basically, if the government has your name and your information, that means you're on a list to kill.
To be killed.
To be killed. So we're talking about like the whole DMV operation. That's just a strategy to kill mugs. We got to do something about birth certificates.
We got to do something about a lot of things if that's the case. You enrolled in school.
How about voter rolls?
Voter rolls.
These mugs vote. They vote because they don't want to see anything happen on gun legislation, right? These mugs are active voting.
I don't know what to say, man. That's just weird. That's a representative. That's a representative who actually exists. This is not like some sort of artificially created person. Flesh and bone.
I mean, he didn't say it. It was a comment under his. Yeah, he didn't say it. Even though it's Thomas Massey.
It's Thomas Massey.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Okay.
It
wasn't him. It was somebody under.
Yeah, but still, Anyway, all right. So, like I said, let's go into full detail about this the story that we were covering on the last show about the student. All right. So earlier this year in April, 13-year-old black male student who attended Barry Miller Junior High in Houston, Texas, showed up with a new haircut. Okay, he had a new hairstyle. You know, wanted to show it off, whatever.
Regular ass hairstyle.
Regular ass
a
hairstyle.
Damn fade.
It was a fade, man. He's a black student. You know, black students. You know, black males. They get fades. You know, it's cool. It was cool 10 years ago. It was cool 20 years ago.
Yo.
It's just a fade, right?
It's like what Carlton has.
Yeah.
Actually, it's lower. Actually, it's more conservative than Carlton. To me.
That's true. That's true.
Carlton Banks.
Carlton Banks.
Specifically. Yeah, I gotta make that clear.
So, but anyway, it wasn't just a fade, okay? Even though it was just a fade, there was something added to the fade as well. So
something very extravagant.
Very dangerous.
Menacing.
Menacing, perhaps. So this particular student had the letter M shaved into his head.
Menacing,
right?
Maniac.
Yeah, it was kind of like in a cursive kind of too. Like, well, not really cursive, but I guess if it was a capital M, yeah, it was kind of like cursive, kind of like a design to it, right? Just not no regular M. But I guess that's the part that made it really dangerous and disruptive.
Because the M stood for menacing.
Yeah.
Maybe he should have told him it stood for MAGA. And they would have been like, oh!
He would have been okay with it. But anyway, so when he got to school, there were 3 particular school officials, I guess, that had noticed it. I don't know if all 3 of them did at one time or whatever, but there were 3 administrators that told the boy that the haircut violated the school's dress code, and they threatened to suspend him. So I don't know if his parents were called or what. I don't know how this worked out, but they provided a solution to fix this problem. And so the solution was to cover up the M with a black permanent marker. And so this is what it looked like when they covered it up, or attempted to cover it up. They tried to...
They didn't even do a good job.
No, didn't even do a good job at it.
So they tried to color in or color over that M, I guess, to try to blend in with the rest of the hair.
Yes.
And I guess they thought that was a sensible solution because I guess that's how they see black hair.
Yeah, as actual black, like
you
jet
just,
black.
No, it's just like you can just
Sharpie black.
You just color over that, you know, those Negro naps with a Sharpie.
Right. So obviously it didn't work, and I believe they understood at that point that they made the problem even worse. It was standing out even worse. So to fix that problem, they decided to color his entire scalp black. So they marked over his hair, his entire hair, with that Sharpie black marker. So you can see where this is probably going. Obviously, his family was not happy about this, and it definitely led to a lawsuit. Now, it didn't lead to a lawsuit at first. But, you know, I believe they were trying to communicate with the district, with the school, whatever. And I guess there wasn't a lot of there wasn't a lot of cooperation. So it did eventually lead into a lawsuit. So named in the lawsuit is the Pearland Independent School District school principal, Tony Barcelona, who was the assistant principal at the time. But now he is the principal of the school. Discipline clerk Helen Day, and teacher Jeanette Peterson.
He got a promotion, but you don't say.
Yeah, that assistant principal got a promotion.
Oh.
Yeah. And this was known about, I believe, before he got the promotion.
He approved of this kind of this dye job, this fill-in job.
Yes.
That was performed on this child.
Yes. Now, the district has not legally responded to the lawsuit yet. At the time of the incident, they said that the administrators, quote, mishandled, end quote, the situation. They said in a statement at the time that this practice of using a marker, quote, is not condoned by the district and does not align with appropriate measures for dress code violations, end quote. So also, per this lawsuit by the family, it states, quote, They laughed as they took many minutes to color 13-year-old JT's scalp, which took many days of scrubbing to come off. JT was immensely humiliated and shamed, end quote. So you can imagine that this was
How old was this kid?
He's 13 years old.
13 years old.
You can imagine that it was very embarrassing, very humiliating, because not only are these educators, not only are these adults coloring on his scalp and laughing as they do this, but he still has to be in school for the rest of the day. And you know that other students probably notice jet black marker
all
on
over
his head. And you know, I mean, they don't know what happened. So it's not like immediately they would be, I mean, like, usually students aren't the most empathetic. You know?
Yeah, usually.
Not usually. Especially when they don't even know the particulars of a situation. So if they see like Sharpie, black Sharpie on top of one's head, oh, there's going to be a lot of laughter that is produced. So,
but interesting enough, you're talking about kids.
Yeah.
But as you stated, the laughter was coming from faculty members, adults.
Yep. While they were doing it.
And then here's the thing. If it was just a disciplinary measure, if it was just a, you know, this young man was in violation of the school dress code and they just had to enforce the rules. Hey, young man, we have to rectify this issue. Hey, young man, come with us. We think your hair is a distraction for some reason and it violates the school dress code and we're going to have to do something about it. If it was approached in just a, hey, we're just doing our jobs, then why laugh as you're doing it? Because laughter suggests that you're being malicious. That's what that suggests. If it's funny to you and you're doing that to a child, a kid, a 13-year-old, then to me that tells me you're doing it. That was the purpose you did it for. That's why you did it. So you could, for your own entertainment. You were just kind of using an excuse to get there. Like, oh, you violated school policy. Did he really? I don't think he did.
But we don't know. Look, that's the one thing that we don't know. Is it actually a violation of school policy? I don't know. I haven't seen the handbook. I don't know. It may have been a violation of school policy. The thing is, though, did they handle it in the right way? Did they like the district says, of course they did not. But are you telling me these teachers did not know that it shouldn't be handled in a way in which you humiliate somebody, in which you laugh while you color
when you're
on
laughing
somebody's
at
head?
when you're laughing at somebody, you know you're doing it to humiliate them. So I don't think there's an excuse that they have. I don't think there's an excuse that they can issue to say, oh, we know we could have handled it differently. That is blatantly obvious.
Right.
So if they kind of, I guess, didn't go a blatantly obvious route, that must mean what they were doing as far as laughing and the reason why they did it was kind of blatantly atrocious. Right. It was bullying. It was bullying.
Absolutely bullying.
You know, if your child came home, right, and somebody was marker all up in their hair, I'm like, whatever was black, green, red, or whatever, it was all in the hair, all in their face, all of whatever, on them, on their back or something. Who would you think was responsible? Who would you think? What would come to your mind first?
You know, it depends on the way that he looked. If he looked like nothing was wrong, then I'm like, what did you do?
I mean, what did you do?
What did you do?
And then, okay, I mean, by first, maybe second would be like, oh man, like, you know, my imagination would just say, man, some kids.
Yeah.
Some kids.
Some bullies that are actually like 13
your
14
age.
years old.
But not just adults, but adults that are responsible for you at the school you go to. So not just random adults. It's particular adults that, you know, are charged with keeping you safe, charged with teaching you, charged with mentoring you. And now, not only do they do this to you, but you have to exist in that environment with them. Adults.
Look, man, upon first reading this, it's enraging. It's absolutely enraging. Told Mike when I read it, I'm putting hands on somebody. I'm putting hands on somebody. Just thinking about, how I'm gonna do it. I initially started typing to you that I was gonna call the police, meet me at the school because there's gonna be some trouble. And then I erased that because I understood that, hold up, I want to put hands on somebody. They may stop me.
You don't want some sort of third party there to prevent you from putting hands on somebody.
Yeah. I understand that the police will ultimately be called, but I want to be able to put hands on somebody first.
Oh, no.
This is a situation where somebody deserves hands put on them.
I get you.
Because you put your hands on my kid.
Not only did you put your hands on my kid, you intentionally put your hands on my kid and performed an act to humiliate them, and you laughed at them.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I was outraged too. And I don't have any kids. And I was outraged. So I can imagine if I had kids. Then, the next step, I can imagine if I had kids and then that actually happened. I'm coming up there. I'm coming up there. I'm coming. I tell you, I'm somebody getting punched in the chest.
Yeah.
I'm punching somebody in the chest. And then I'll make it like an accident too. You know what I'm saying? Like fall over, like trip into him. But I'm like, you know what I do? I probably wouldn't come in there mad.
Yeah.
I would come in there.
You don't want to alert anybody.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I'll come in there, be very calm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I will definitely temper my voice and, act like I want to have a diplomatic conversation with all the individuals involved. I'm like, yo, let's sit in a room together and talk this out. Talk this out like adults. Like civil adults. And then maybe a chair or two goes flying.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine approaching school, the office. Hey, would you happen to know where vice principal or assistant principal,
Would you happen to know?
Like whereabouts?
You see, like when we first talked about this, I said I was gonna buy some attire, like some all black attire and some combat boots with like a black beret and Rambo stuff. Maybe some face black, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and maybe I'll and then march into the office. I was like, now I realize that's the wrong approach.
That is the wrong approach because they be ready for you. They're not coming out. You're not even being routed to them.
No. I'm trying to find like a tuxedo and a top hat.
Oh, yes.
I might talk in a British accent.
Pardon me.
Maybe, munching on some croutons or something.
Yeah.
Play nice.
And see, really think about how, look, again, I said, I don't know this school's handbook. I don't know the rules, the dress code policy, if they actually have a policy about hair. I'm sure they actually do. I think a lot of schools do have policies about hair, but carvings and, just some imprint in your hair.
It's actually just a part.
It's just
a permanent part.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
permanent part, but it's actually just a part.
But if they have something in there, I actually would not be surprised because we've seen other situations where, and this, it seems to only, is only regulated to black children and black hair. Some reason it's not allowable. So I would not be surprised. But this is the thing, and this is what I would definitely tell my children too. Don't let anybody put their hands on you. Now, I understand that this 13-year-old, maybe he was scared about being suspended because they did threaten to suspend him. So, you never know this is coming from adults. This is coming from people who are in an authority and in a position of authority. So maybe he felt like, man, I gotta do this because I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get suspended. My parents aren't gonna like that. Maybe I just gotta do what they say. But I'm gonna tell my children, sit in the corner. You definitely call your mother, call your father, call one of us before they do anything to you. They should not have put any hands on him before reaching a parent. If they have to punish him by sitting him in the office all day, in an empty classroom, in the gym, whatever, because you can't get in touch with the parents, fine. Let that be what it is. But you're not going to lay a hand on my child until you talk to me, and then we'll have a conversation about this school policy, about this dress code policy, and then we'll proceed from there. You're going to, but see, again, we have to take it back to the laughter. They didn't want to talk to the parents.
They didn't want to talk to the parents.
They wanted to embarrass that kid.
Yeah, they wanted to shame him. They wanted to shame him, and it just. This, I think...
Put hands on somebody, man.
Oh, no, yeah. No doubt. You know, I don't know, man. Stories like this kind of reinforce my whole outlook about, you know, authority and how people talk about children these days don't respect authority. I hate that shit. People who are like, especially over 40, 50, and sometimes they start to kind of creep into that kind of idea, that mentality when they're like in their mid-30s, but you definitely see it when they're 60 and 70 and 80. Like, and you keep hearing the same thing. Kids these days don't respect authority. Like, it comes with this assumption that authority is automatically right and automatically deserves respect. And I'm like, if you just look at the state of the world now, not just the United States, but if we're just talking about specifically the United States, who is the most visible authority?
Like in a community or just?
In general, yeah. And it can be like the police.
Yeah, the police officers.
Police officers.
Yeah.
Or even local politicians and politicians that aren't local.
Yeah.
What are they always doing? They're always catering to corporations.
Or engaging in some kind of corrupt, well, that's corrupt behavior as well, but think about Duncan Hunter. Think about Chris Collins. Corruption,
Donald
no
Trump.
doubt. Illegal behavior.
Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Most of our politicians. It goes beyond politics, though. What about like the evangelical church? Evangelical church, you know, or let's say the Catholic Church, with their, you know, decades and decades of covering up for, sexual abuse. Yeah. Even universities, officials at universities have a history at covering up sexual abuse, sexual assault, including our government. So I'm just like, so who are these authorities that you are telling kids to look up to and respect? Kids these days don't respect authority. I'm just like, I can't ever say that, because I know what the authority figures in our world act like and behave like and do.
There's many instances where positions of authority need to be challenged. Many instances. And it didn't just start a few years ago. You remember in the 70s? And shoot, not just the 70s, but you going back to the Vietnam War, you remember there was a lot of feelings about the Vietnam War, right? There was a lot of protests about the Vietnam War, right? And that was people trying to challenge authority, challenge power. They didn't believe it was a just war. Those were people that are kind of older today, right? Those are people that are older today. Again, there's always been the case. Look, if we go back in history and we can find a multitude of situations where people have abused power in many different fields, then you could say that there was a reason to challenge power. And that situation remains the same today. I totally agree with you, man. Yeah, my kid's gonna challenge power. I'm gonna get some calls.
Oh, and I expect to.
I'm gonna get some calls.
I'm
gonna get some calls. Because they're gonna know stuff. I'm gonna get some calls.
And I think that's why I got in trouble when I was coming up, because I knew stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, like...
You're not just gonna accept bullshit.
And that's the thing. I think, like, if you're talking about middle school, it's a little bit easier. You know, if you're like 11, 12, 13, 14, it's just a little bit easier for authority figures, especially teachers, to try to get away with things, because at that age, your discernment skills haven't developed, your rationale is weak, your personality is weak compared to the rest of the population. You haven't, like, your self-development, you're still going through your self-development.
You may lack the ability to really articulate yourself.
Yeah, you're trying to understand the world in general, so you just don't really know a lot of that stuff. Sometimes there are certain things you sense are wrong, but as a child or as a kid, you don't know how to constructively address it.
Right, exactly.
So I know I had a lot of run-ins with teachers at a very young age. I think I've, spoken about that on the show before. Like when I was in sixth grade, I remember this. 11 years old, I was in sixth grade, and it was around that time when the Rodney King shit was popping off, where they counted how many times he got hit. How many times? Like 90 something. It was some crazy amount.
I can't remember the number.
It was like a high amount. They just kept hitting him. He was holding his hand up. He was just trying to surrender. They kept hitting him. And so for some reason, I don't know how it became a topic in class. Maybe a kid brought it up, because kids come to school and they say things, and sometimes teachers have to talk about things that are not like a part of the curriculum, because kids just talk. Hey, Miss Boston, my mama said, And she said that the cops did the right thing. Said he was on drugs, they had to do it. And I at 11 years old, I raised my hand, and we were arguing about it and stuff. And then I was just floored. And then this woman, she was in her 30s. She actually lived in my neighborhood, man. She lived right up the street. And I was like, why is a 30-plus-year-old woman arguing with an 11-year-old and trying to justify this to an 11-year-old? I'm like, what is going on? You remember Miss Bird at Campus I? Miss Bird, she had kind of grayish hair. One time she told me she was going to send me to the principal's office if I didn't pull up my overalls. Because back then I used to wear them like Fresh Prince, because he had the one strap down. Yeah. Sometimes
it became a style.
It became a style. That's my idol, man. Fresh Prince. Psh, you know what I'm saying? You dap up jazz. But I used to wear them one strap down, sometimes both straps down. Apparently she didn't like it. She didn't like it like that. And so before class started, everybody's just chilling in class. And she just kind of targeted me, and she was like, you need to put those straps on. And I was just like, and I was like, nah. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. And she was like, no, you need to put those straps on. You need to put the little hooks on your overalls, or I'm sending you to Mr. Vice Principal's office. I forgot his name. Yeah. He's like, I'm sending you to the office. I was like, okay. I was willing to go because I was like, I know it was dumb. And I was like, I think there may be some kids in that situation kind of wouldn't look past what the punishment was.
No, they would just do as
they wouldn't look past is this something that really could play out? And I was like, nah, because I was like, this doesn't violate the dress code. It's just that she didn't like it. She took something that she personally didn't like and tried to apply the dress code to it, or try to find something that she can get me on. But it was a bluff. It turned out to be a bluff. She didn't.
She didn't do nothing.
She didn't do nothing. She didn't do nothing. You told me about a situation where I think it was after after last show. You told me about a situation where some teacher or some faculty member tried to flex their authority.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, yeah.
This was senior year. I think it was our senior year when we first had to wear ID tags. We had to wear them around our necks. I think it was our senior year that we had to first start doing that. And So anyway, I had a situation where I could leave school early every day. Work co-op, whatever. I could leave school early at the beginning of the last period, right? So I'm getting ready to leave. End of the last class for me. I'm heading out the door to the car. I'm ready to get out of here, right? So I'm almost right in the hallway. I see the door leading to the door is the exit.
You're going there. You're walking towards.
You're
at the very front of the school.
Yes.
If I was parked out in front of the school, I could probably see you about to leave.
Yes.
Right?
I'm right
because
here.
It's nothing but windows.
It's nothing but windows, man. I'm right there, right? So this teacher, who it was never one of my teachers, but I knew of her, and she sees that because as I'm walking, I take my ID off, because I'm not wearing my ID out there, So she says, oh, look, you put your ID on. I'm like, I'm heading out the door.
Be out the door.
I'm heading out the door. I'm leaving. I'm leaving school, all right? I keep walking. No. Put your ID on. Like, I'm leaving. She's like, no. Put your. I was like, no. I'm leaving. I'm leaving school. You ain't gonna be worried about me no more. I'm leaving. She's like, if you don't put your ID on, I'm getting the assistant principal. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be out the door by the time you get them. So I don't know what you're gonna do.
Unless I stand here. Unless I stand here and wait on you.
Yeah. As I'm talking to her, I'm walking. So I'm.
So you don't even stop.
Oh no.
You just keep walking like. Oh.
Yeah. I'm walking the whole time talking to her. It becomes like a yell at some point because she's way down there now. But she keep telling me, put on this damn ID. I'm like, nah, man, nah. I don't put it on. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear nothing from that situation again. But I do hear something from her again because now I'm a target.
Oh, she remembers you now. I'm gonna get this dude. I'm gonna get this
my
dude.
Face. So it was one day shortly after that we were at lunch, and look, my ID was busted. Honestly, it was busted. It was in 4 parts.
Oh yeah, I had a busted ID too. Mine was one time my ID faded and I colored in my hair. Like a Sharpie.
I never did that.
Yeah, but go ahead, dog.
But yeah, my ID was in 4 parts, but it was together because of staples. I stapled that thing together.
You know what? I was clowning him on Tuesday for that, but I was like, you know what? Shit, I did that too, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't 4 though. It wasn't 4 pieces.
Oh yeah, it was 4 pieces. It was bam, 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 right? So I just stapled it together. You could still see my face. You could still see my name. It was cool, right? And the whole reason why I was doing that because I was not paying $5 for a new one. Because they gave you one at the beginning of the year. If you lost it, if it was damaged, whatever, if you couldn't see your name, your face, whatever, then you had to pay for another one. I'm like, I'm not giving you $5.
You know what I was saying? I was like, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. That's what I was saying.
So
I
just stapled that thing together. Nobody said nothing to me about it, but she found the time to say something to me about it that day. So she came up. She's like, "Oh no, you're gonna have to get another one." I'm like, no, I'm not. You can see my face. You can see my name. I'm not getting another one. She's like, oh, no, this is not going to do. You're going to have to go to the library right now, get another one. I'm like, I'm not paying $5. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
Like, man, you got $5?
Yeah, I just said, I'm not doing it.
I was like, I'd rather spend my $5 on like some pizza or cookies or french fries or corn dogs.
Them soft cookies.
Ooh, boy. Fresh baked.
Man.
Because they didn't put that in until like our senior year.
That was a senior year, boy. Boy,
that line was always long.
Boy. But anyway, I said no. So what she threatened to do, she's threatening to get the assistant principal yet again. But this time, the assistant principal was right over there. So she's like, okay, yeah, come over here. And I'm like, oh my God.
Trying to like bring you out, put you on blast in front of everybody.
Everybody, man. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, all right, this how you gonna do? Okay, whatever. Whatever. I'm still not gonna buy it, but whatever. So then the assistant principal comes over, and she tells me, look at this ID tag. He got to get another one, right? And so he takes it, he looks at it, looks at me, looks at me. He's like, no, this is okay. Well, I was like, no, don't stop messing with me, man.
Boy, I swear, my
mad as hell, boy.
Yo, my dopamine would have been like through the roof, dog.
As soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, man, stop messing with me, man. I told you stop.
Yeah, remember what Martin Lawrence used to do? Stop it with the big dogs.
Hell yeah, man. But yeah, she didn't mess with me after that again. She didn't mess with me after that anymore, man. Like I said, I don't even remember her name. I knew she taught math. I don't have a picture of her in my face or in my head or whatever.
Yeah, there's some teachers that I had run-ins with that I don't remember who they were.
Yeah.
I remember the ones that it's weird. I remember the ones that had a good impact on me though.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
There's only a few of those though.
Oh, it's only a few, man. Yeah. Only a few.
Only a few.
It's weird though. Like you remember what was the SAT dude who looked like a kind of like a distorted Jim Carrey? He did the SAT workshops and SAT class. Mr. Was it Lumpkin?
Yeah. Was it Lumpkin? He was
not. What is it?
Lumpkin was like he was either the English or history teacher.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was a dude. He did the SAT.
Lumpkin was a big guy too.
Yeah, Lumpkin was a big guy. It was a dude. He kind of like it was weird, man. He was like straight out of the '70s, man. Like the shirt and the tie he wore. He had like these glasses. He wore some like again, pants that you would see out of the '70s. Some kid in art class like drew something for him. It was on it was hung on the wall right when you walked in. I heard he was so hard, and I heard he was just like blah blah blah. And me, man, I wasn't I wasn't really about that like academic life. So I was like, oh man, what is it gonna be like? And then when I got there, it was hard because it was like, I think it was like SAT verbal. Yeah. And so, you know, he was like strict, but he wasn't like, you can tell. And somebody in the chat mentioned it about when you're young, like you may not be smart, you may not be mentally developed, but sometimes your sensibilities are there. And that was the case when I could tell, like my sensibilities, like were like, okay, this dude is not like antagonizing us. Like it was hard as shit. And like when we weren't paying attention, he'd be like, okay, take a quiz.
Yeah.
And we were like, ah, man. But like everybody in the class knew we was wrong. It was like, yeah, we weren't paying attention or we weren't taking notes. So it was like he saw you not paying attention and he was like, okay, take a quiz. Or he's asking you questions, like you give us a little assignment and just whatever. And he was like, okay, quiz time. But when we paid attention, when we did what we were supposed to do, we didn't have to take these little pop quizzes. But every now and then, one of us would be slacking off, somebody would be slacking off, or we'll be paying attention, like talking in class, passing notes. All right, everybody take out like pop quiz. I was like, oh man. So it's like it almost became like a running joke.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it outside of class. So it became like one of those things he did to discipline us. But it wasn't like, we knew it wasn't antagonistic. We knew he wasn't just doing it out of spite and doing it because he had the authority. The man was just trying to like, have an organized environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have just kids doing what they want. Sure. And then, dog, I ain't never heard nobody complain about it. We've joked about it. Oh, man, he be giving these pop quizzes. But you never heard like some sort of like, you never heard it, like a student's like characterize him in a demeaning way. Like, I hate him.
Well,
it wasn't like that. It was like we knew that dude was like, okay, yeah, we fucking up.
Do you remember Spruill? Do you remember Spruill?
Oh. Yo, dog, when you said Spruill, I was like,
But see, look, I had a totally different experience with Spruill, man. Because not just, I'm talking about upper class, when we even arrived in high school, there were so many stories about Spruill, and there was so many like, man, she's the worst, and she's this, and oh my gosh, I can't stand. Like she was pure evil. And so I finally had her. I think that was 10th grade, and that was not my experience. Now I will say she was definitely annoying.
Yeah, I think no. I think that's what it is. She was annoying as hell, and that was more like personality stuff. Yeah, I did sense that she was annoying though.
Some things that were not like, of course, kids like to chew gum, right? I chewed gum back then. I can't stand gum now, but I used to chew gum back in the day. She could sense gum like it was her job. I would test it. Right? I'd come through. I turn the corner, not chewing. I'd be like, I ain't got nothing in my mouth, right? Go to the, she'd be standing right there at the entranceway, right? She would be standing there every single class. I go there, try to turn that corner, spit your gum out. She'd have a trash can right there.
Right there, that's right.
Yeah. I got gum in my mouth. I'm not even chewing. That junk was annoying. The note taking, oh my gosh. Like, I've never taken so many notes in my life. That was her thing. She put, and she gave you like no time to actually jot them down either. That's when I became a fast writer. I think before that point, I actually wrote neat, and then that grade
chicken scratch
that class, oh my gosh, it got messy because you weren't gonna get it down if you didn't write fast as hell. But yeah, but like I said, I didn't picture her as evil or anything like that. She was just, she was kind of tough, The work wasn't, easy as anything or anything like that. But I like I said, I didn't have real problems with her. But a lot of kids hated her guts, man. I never had no arguments with her or anything like that. Whatever. But some kids don't like work,
Yeah.
They do like to demonize teachers, that don't, if kids don't want to actually do the work and they're trying to make you do the work, yeah, that's probably not gonna lead to a good outcome. Like, oh, you being too hard on me, man. She's evil. Yeah, she wasn't too evil. She was alright. But anyway, that's a blast from the past, man. Duke of Bud, Will does strike me as a good student. No. Not really. Look, I wasn't a bad student, but
you ain't. I'm not like. I get true that I wasn't like. kind of like a study goon.
Oh no.
I wasn't like a study goon.
Looking back, I don't know if I was cognizant of this at the time. I probably was not, but I was too smart for my own good. Too smart for my own good, because if I was, learning the information was not a big challenge for me. Like, I might not know the information, but I knew that if I studied, I'd get it. It was nothing. I could read a book. I could come away, okay, I can understand it. I can write an essay about it. I can take a test. Test taking was nothing for me or anything like that. Math came extremely easy for me, so I didn't work at that at all. I was a very average student because I just, like I said, I knew that I knew too much and that I could do this. So especially in math class, I slept all the time. I never listened. I don't care about listening to teachers because I can just take this textbook home and learn for myself. Like, why do I need to stay awake in class? So I was not a great student. I could have been a lot better, and that's what I have been telling, especially my daughter since she's in school. But as they get older too, I needed to care about the results, not actually care about what I'm learning, because it is right that a lot of the things that you learn in school, you're not going to have practical use for it, especially like the complicated math. It's not like you're going to use that in everyday situations. So, but you have to get past that and say, well, look, this is a means to the end. I have to do this to achieve this or to get here. If your goal is to go to college and get a degree, well, there's some steps along the way. It's not that I have to care about the information, but I have to care enough to either pass this test, get this grade, get a scholarship, go to, stuff like that. So that's the things that I couldn't put together as a kid. And I wish I did put that together. So.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right. Excuse me, everybody.
Might have some people that want to chit chat a bit.
Yeah, we have not had a call-in session in a little while, so that's what we're gonna do now. Last week, Friday, we did the debate analysis, so we didn't have any time to do that. But we would love for you, if you do have any questions or comments, to give us a call. It is definitely welcomed. I have to actually. Is this button? I didn't remember what button it was. But anyway, yes, the number to call in is 669-900-6833. We would love for you to join the conversation. So please call in if you do have something to say.
Duke of Bud said, I like girls too much. I rebelled way too hard. I think that's Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was girl crazy. I wasn't girl crazy, per se. I was more like laid back. I still I picked, I picked my battles. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't very indiscriminate with where I go. I wasn't like, I like her. Like, nah, man, I'm just like, I don't got time for that. I was very strategic. I'm like, man, I didn't have time for no dumb stuff. So I was trying to avoid drama, man.
See, not me. I wasn't girls crazy. I was girl crazy. I would be fixated on this one girl, this one relationship, and I would lose my damn mind. There are some stories, boy. No. But yeah, I started losing my mind probably about, it was about 10th grade. Started losing my mind. Yeah, started losing my mind about 10th grade. Junior year was like a blur, dog. Junior year was like a blur. Yeah. Junior year was a blur. There's some things, especially when if I didn't care so much about school, and like I said, I could have worked just a little bit harder and got straight A's, but I didn't. Junior year was probably the least amount of effort I ever put in.
I would say, oh man, I'm trying to figure out what year. Probably, I would say the same for me. I guess when you're new to high school, like 9th, 10th grade, you're still kind of like trying to establish your footprint and whatnot, trying to establish a reputation. You don't want to cause too much waves.
Right.
And then I guess junior year, I started playing sports more. You know what I'm saying? I ran track that year, and then the next year I played football. Yeah. So it was kind of I was focused on that.
Yeah, other things.
And then I just like the attention I was getting from that was just weird to me, man. You know what I'm saying? Just because you on a football team and junk, and just mugs like see you a certain way,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
I know. Freshman year, I remember freshman year, I came dangerously close to failing. Freshman year,
for real?
Dangerously close, because it was English class. And you remember back in the day with the Walkmans. Remember the Walkmans, right? You had the earbuds. You know, I'd have the wire going up like this. I mean, just like this.
Oh, like this. Oh, that was slick, man. That was pretty slick.
I mean, just like that. Boy, that teacher found me out. Found me out real quick. But that's what got me in trouble. I just wasn't paying attention. And, it became the last semester. And I had been, like maybe C, D, maybe on the exam I had an F or something. It was crazy, right? I know by the time I got to the last semester, I needed a B to pass the class. I was like, oh, snap, it's serious now.
It's serious now. I got to actually put in work to catch up. But you know how hard it is to catch up because, man, like it takes a lot to make up for one F because it averages. And since you can't get over 100, it takes that average, it makes that average go up slower because you only can get 100. If you can get over 100, then it'll make those 60s easier to overcome. That's why teachers offered extra credit.
But I actually worked that last semester and I got an A. Okay. I got an A on for the semester and I got an A on the exam.
On the exam.
Because I was forced to work.
You're forced to work, yeah.
And then, but you remember that last report card? You didn't take that home with you. They mailed it to you.
They mailed it to you. So you was like,
I'm shaking for 2 weeks because I know if I fail, I got to deal with moms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my good gosh, man.
That's worse than dealing with any teacher. Ever. There's no teacher that's whacking up.
Nah, yeah. That was sheer fear right there, man. But anyway, all right. So we got our first caller of the night. We're going to go to the 562 area code. Caller, you are on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, Mike and White. I'm here to it's me, Sav. I haven't been here in a while.
Hey, what's going on, Sav? How you doing tonight, man?
Just college and stuff like that. So, my question is on Elizabeth Warren. She hasn't fully endorsed the idea of, what was it? Was it Medicare? I believe it was, no, she wants Medicare. One policy that Bernie's really into, oh my gosh, I'm totally zoning out. I'm so sorry.
No, you good.
Well, I don't know if you are talking about Medicare for all because that is something that she has wavered on. I mean, she says that she does want Medicare for all, but then when she's actually nailed down on, the specifics of it and, private insurance and this and that, she kind of like straddles the fence and, I'm not sure what she wants to do. So I don't know. That could be what you're talking about. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of there is a lot of like policies that Warren is pushing that are similar to Bernie's. But if you just look at them, Bernie's goes a little bit farther. Like for example, like the Warren wants to cap prescription drugs at $6,000 per year, and I think Bernie wants to cap prescription drugs at $200. As far as people, like helping people with affording prescription drugs, like a prescription drug program. Like a lot of people can't even afford $6,000 a year.
Right.
And so it's like that's a big ass gap for a cap. So it's like Warren, she wants, I guess to forgive student debt for certain income brackets, not all. Bernie's is expansive. It's like, it's universal. So it's just like when people talk about she has a plan for that, or her policy positions or proposals align with Bernie's, or they're the same, or she stole them. It's kind of true, but like they're milquetoast when it comes to his.
That's true.
So.
Okay, I have one more question. I don't know how familiar you guys with the Israeli politics that are going on right now, but I'm curious about your perspective on like. Do you believe that Benjamin Netanyahu's era is over now because of the Blue and White Party winning the seats that they may establish their own coalition government without Benjamin Netanyahu? And do you think he's going to go to jail because of the recent corruption charges?
Well, I don't, actually, I think I don't know that I can say definitively on either question. As of right now, the election isn't settled as of right now, so neither one has enough support to where they can, govern alone. So, I did hear you say that, they're trying to form a coalition so that they can, but I don't believe that's happened yet. So, I don't know. I mean, Netanyahu is a big name in Israel. You never know what's up his sleeve. I don't know where the votes are gonna land. I don't know how this.
His support has been waning throughout the years, and I believe like if he doesn't win this next election in 2 weeks, his trial for what do you call it, like corruption will start going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't win here, he has no chance for the next election. That's what I believe, personally.
It's possible. We've talked about the corruption before. I don't know if I don't know how many charges there are, but yeah, we've talked about it months ago, probably like when it was first kind of being talked about in the media. Look, I'm no advocate for Benjamin Netanyahu, so if this is the end of his reign, good riddance. I have, like I said, I really don't have any positive words to say about him. So, like I said, good riddance. I don't really know, but see, look, I don't really know a lot about who's challenging him as well. So, I don't believe this is like the most progressive. Yeah, I don't believe he's like the most progressive guy or anything like that.
No, he's not progressive, but he's center right. But his policies kind of align with Benjamin Netanyahu's a little bit. Yeah. And one more thing. Did you guys hear? You guys are from North Carolina, right?
South. No, we're from South. The South.
South. Oh, okay. Well, Raleigh, North Carolina is going to be getting their own MLS team, so good for you guys.
They're going to do what?
Good for them. Raleigh, MLS.
Raleigh, probably.
They may be getting their own soccer team.
Soccer team, like professional? They're like MLS?
MLS, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Raleigh's a pretty. Raleigh's a big city, man. I've been there a few times. I like it, but it's a pretty big city. They have the market for it.
You're acting very interested.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not very interested, but I just know about Raleigh. A little bit.
Yeah, I know a little bit. I could not tell you what city does or does not have a.
I can't either.
Major league.
I can give a few guesses and may hit one.
Maybe. Yeah. Major League Soccer. I'm not a. I don't hate soccer or anything like that.
Oh no. Just never been drawn to it.
Yeah, I just never been drawn to it. Yeah. My kids like it.
So. Well, I think soccer. Well, originally it's real football.
Yeah.
It's called football, not soccer.
Because you use it.
I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't like the American rugby thing. I do not like it. I think they should.
The American rugby thing, yo, that's funny. That's hilarious. I never heard anybody refer to it like that.
American rugby.
Actually makes sense.
It does.
It's probably more like they should call it.
It is American rugby. Yeah.
Yeah, I think football should take the name for soccer already because you're not even using your hands. In the American rugby, they keep on using their hands. It's annoying. I don't like the sport. Not to take away anybody who will. That actually leads to my following question. Do you believe with the recent concussions and Colin Kaepernick and everything like that going on, do you believe that football, American rugby is out the door?
No.
In American sports?
Nope.
In 10 years or no?
Nope.
No. Nope. There's always going to be people who want to play it.
And people that want to watch it.
And people that are going to want to watch it. So.
The concussion thing, and look, the game may look different as the years go by because of the concussion thing and the hits. It could start looking even more different than it looks right now, but go away.
Because the recent quarterback, Andrew Luck, I believe his name. I don't know. I don't follow the sport, but he retired and everyone booed him, and it was just an awful
it was more than just about concussions though. It was about the toll the sport was taking on his body.
Mm-hmm.
and he had reoccurring injuries, and he was trying to come back, and they would just get aggravated again.
Or a new injury.
Would come up. That's probably linked to the old injury.
It was just a cycle of injury, rehabilitation, injury, rehabilitation, injury. He was just tired of that whole process. All right,
that's
Sal.
my question, guys.
Oh, well, good.
It's been fun,
Thanks for the
guys.
questions, man.
We appreciate you calling in, man. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Will. Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's go to 253 area code. You're on the air live.
Hey guys, this is Jordan.
Told you.
Jordan, man, what's going on, man?
Hey, yeah, long time no talk.
Yeah.
What you got, man? What's going on, man? What's on your mind, bro?
I have two things on my list. I wanted to talk about this last time. Single payer versus public option. Go.
Single payer versus public option.
Yeah, what's your opinion on that?
Look, my opinion. I think I've stated before that. Look, the public option is not the worst idea. It's not the worst idea. That's what we wanted back in 2008. That's what Barack Obama campaigned for. So no, it's not the worst idea. If the public option leads to Medicare for all, and I'm not talking about like some theoretical like, yeah, we'll first get the public option and then we'll get Medicare for all sometime later. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a definitive timeline. I'm talking about, okay, we can establish the public option for maybe 2 years, and then after 2, 3, 4 years, then we have Medicare for all. If it's a definitive timeline, I have no problem with that idea. No problem with that idea whatsoever. But if you're saying that, I guess your emphasis is the public option over Medicare for all, then no, I'm not with you with that at all.
I guess like I would definitely have to go single payer. I mean, because essentially I'm in support of Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Where healthcare system is funded through our taxes. I just don't want a public option system because you're going to have one system competing against another system. You just can't have that. So if we're going to get to a single payer system and the public option is the only way, okay. But I just don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the only way.
Yep.
I just don't see us getting to a single payer system if there is like competition. Mm-hmm. Because what keeps Medicare for all or any kind of system like that solvent is the fact that everybody's bought into it. Yeah. That's the strength of it.
That is the strength.
That's the strength.
And call me a cynic. Call me a cynic. But I don't buy their argument. People that are campaigning for the public option over Medicare for all. People that are saying, I trust the American people to make the right decision. We don't want to take choice away from them. I don't buy their argument because they are doing whatever they can to preserve the private healthcare industry, right? So I don't buy that because somebody like Pete Buttigieg and I don't know, maybe Kamala Harris would say the same thing. But their idea is that people will choose the more affordable option, which is the public option, right? So if we are giving people that choice, we know how it's going to turn out. We know that more and more people are going to sign up for the government option because it's less expensive. It's better for us, right? So in that situation, in that reality, then private insurance would be phased out anyway.
Anyway, so if that is the goal, why not just go ahead and
not how it would work.
What'd you say, man? What'd you say, Jordan?
Oh, I said that's just not how it would work.
Exactly. That's why I don't buy it.
My main problem with the public option is what's going to happen is it's going to create a two-tiered system where all the healthy and wealthy people stay on the private program while all the sick and poor people end up on the public program, which is going to make the public program more expensive.
It's going to make it more expensive.
It's not going to drive down prices in the same way.
But see, that's why, and that's why I don't buy it. Because, again, they know this information. So if they know that the public option is going to be more affordable and everybody's going to choose it, then they know that private insurance is going to be done away with anyway. There's no reason to preserve it at this point. So you would just be for Medicare for all. What I see is the situation that you are laying out, that there's a two-tier system where if the public option is more affordable, it's not by much. It's not really going to change the game whatsoever. People are still going to be in pain. People are still not going to be able to afford healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to have the bargaining power to bring down the prices as much.
Right.
So the public plan, it might be cheaper for people who buy into it, maybe, if the government can swing that. Mm-hmm. But it is going to be more expensive than, you know, it's just another, like the ACA, that was a handout to the private health insurers because you're mandating people buy private health insurance, which is ridiculous. In the same way, it'll be a handout to the private insurers because then the private insurers can just pawn off all of the sick people onto the government, all the poor people onto the government, and then they're just raking in money from wealthy people and healthy people. It's just, you know, it's a fallacy to think that we would need to go from a public option and then to Medicare for all or a single payer because you think it's some kind of like logical progression. It's not. It's just it's a bad plan. Like a public option would be disastrous. And honestly, it might even prevent us from ever getting to a single payer, at least in our generation, because the right would use it as a way of saying, oh, look how disastrous this is. And that's what they're doing with the ACA as well. And it was a right-wing plan in the first place.
That's true. Like I said, that's why, you know, if it was a definitive plan, you know, because no matter who is advocating for Medicare for all, you know, they realize that it's going to have to be phased in. It's not something that is going to just, you know, as soon as it's passed, it's there for everybody. You know, even Bernie Sanders says it's going to be like a 4-year phase in. So if it was part of the phase in that we, you know, if the public option could be reached faster than Medicare for all, if that was one step of the process, yeah, okay. I'd be fine.
That's not true, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, if it was one step of the process and we saw, like, there was a definitive timeline and we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, like, at this point and this date, this is when it transitions into Medicare for all.
If it was a necessary process that actually was required for us to get to a single-payer system. But
then,
like Jordan points out, it's not required, but, you know, people pushing for it or making it like, we have to do this before, you know, we get to a system like that. And that's absolutely not true.
True.
Like,
I agree. Yeah.
I agree with Jordan. That doesn't logically follow because that's not something that's required for us to get a single-payer system. They're making it like it's required, though. The only way we can get there is to do a public option. And that's
the only thing that's feasible.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. It's like really simplistic thinking. Like, I understand why somebody who's pretty naive would think that, but, like, you know, because like, people like to think that, like, oh, there's the left and right exists, so whatever the center is of that is the best thing. It's kind of the same logic.
I agree, man.
All right, and I only had one other thing on my list, and it was Bernie versus Warren. I just think it's really important to make the distinctions on that because it's a major difference on what we would accomplish. And, you know, Bernie's the movement candidate, and Warren has already said she would work, you know, I mean, she indicates she would work with Wall Street.
Yeah.
She, you know, it would be like, I think Warren, people are saying she's Hillary 2.0. I would say she's Obama 2.0.
I think that's. I think that's a better
that's something we need.
I think that is a more apt description. I think people are just kind of Hillary Clinton is, you know, I guess in their rearview mirror because it's so recent. But yeah, I don't.
And she supported her.
And she supported her
even during this campaign season. She's been talking to her. Reportedly, she's been talking, and it would have to be about, I don't know, you know, using the power of the Clintons and, you know, what she can bring, whatever, her influence or whatever. Yeah, I don't think she, no, I don't think. She's not as bad as Hillary Clinton. No. She definitely has a lot of positions that are better than Hillary Clinton. But I kind of would still have the same question about her that you know that I did with Hillary Clinton, and it is because of that corrupt money. You know, what is she gonna do? What is she really gonna do when she reaches to that powerful position? Is she really going to advocate for the same things, knowing that she has strings now, or that there are strings attached to her? So I don't know. When somebody says that they don't care where the money comes from, you know, I'm not going to limit myself. I'm going to play the game, you know, because that's what we have to do. I'm not going to disarm myself. And when somebody says that, that's just no. I don't understand how Elizabeth Warren had so much support prior to 2016 because she was a progressive. That's really why she had the support. She didn't have support from, you know, just like an abundance of, you know, centrist people and, you know, these people that always vote for the establishment. No, I mean, she was a notable progressive. So when somebody like that, who was still, you know, making themselves appear like a progressive, displaying themselves to be a progressive, when somebody like that does and says something that is absolutely not progressive and says that they will take the corrupt money, it just makes no sense that the same support remains in place. I don't understand how anybody could make the case that she's actually going to be about what she campaigned for.
You're taking money from the apparatus you say you want to reform, and the apparatus you say is corrupt. It's kind of like her answer when Emma Vigilant asked her about her vote on the defense spending bill.
Yeah. Which is complete nonsense.
And she skirted the question.
Yes, I think we should limit the...
No, she said, if the question is...
Yeah.
She said, "Lo, how do you..." Basically, Emma was like, how do you reconcile that? You know, how do you reconcile your vote with your rhetoric? And she was like, as far as like, you know, talking about the military-industrial complex. And she said, well, if the question is what we can do about the corruption, I was like, that wasn't the question.
No. She said, if the question is, should we limit the military budget? Then yes.
But I was like, but that wasn't the question. The question was how you like reconcile your comments about the military-industrial complex and all the, you know, corruption, and then your vote. Yeah. And she never answered the question.
No, she did not. I don't believe that she can be trusted. Again, none of this stuff is in stone. You know, none of this stuff they actually have to do. You know, whatever's in the platform right now, whatever was in the platform when Hillary Clinton became the nominee. Of course, some of that stuff got put in there because of Bernie Sanders, but does anybody think that if Hillary Clinton became the president, that she would actually go forward?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know a lot of that stuff was put in there at the convention. So all these people, like, trying to knock down Bernie Sanders and, like for going all the way, don't realize that it wasn't like necessarily a strategy to challenge Hillary Clinton's, you know, nomination. It was, you know, making sure certain things got into the platform. They was, you know, they made him some promises. It was a lot of shit that went down at the convention, even outside of Bernie Sanders, with some deals being made. So it wasn't even about Bernie Sanders. It was about, hey, you know, I have a lot of constituents, and a lot of my constituents are actually going to vote for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do some campaign work for you as well. I'm going to fly across the country doing shit for you and, you know, elevating your name. Like, we're going to need some promises. And dude got sandbagged for it. Like, get out of here. But yeah, I'm with you on, with my man Will on, you know, Warren. She is more like Obama, but we all know what happened with Obama.
And he did take that money, right?
Oh, he took that bag and ran.
Yeah, I mean, Obama pushes a public option, and then when he gets in, he downgrades to an obscure right-wing plan that forces you to give money to private insurers, the very people who are causing the problem. Like,
and he didn't
it's
have
absurd.
to.
And then they call it socialism. They call it left-wing. It's
right.
Just, like, America is just so absurd right now.
But he didn't have to. See, again, he didn't have to do that either. He had a Democratic House. He had a Democratic Senate. He did not have to just completely, you know, scrap the public option. Did not have to do that whatsoever. But, you know, he wants to reach across the aisle. Wants to appear like he can work with the Republicans.
But why, again, You only do that when you can't get anything done, when it's impossible for you to get anything done. Reach across the aisle, compromise, but there was no need to do it.
No need whatsoever, man.
He didn't even try to rally the people. He should have been trying. He should do what Bernie has been saying, and he will do if he gets in, is rally the people in protests and strikes over extended time. You know, you don't need to capitulate. Stand your ground. I just don't think he wanted to do that.
Man,
I think that he did what he wanted to do.
If Bernie has the microphone, like Trump has the microphone now, it's going to be hard to suppress him.
Yeah.
You can't. So, like, you know, they can do what they all they can now, regardless of what his positioning is in the poll. They can try to downplay him, whether it be on CNN, MSNBC. They can do that for some time. But once the candidates start getting knocked off, once they, the number of them start dwindling, and then, the focus is on 2 or 3, then it's going to be hard for them to ignore him. And then let's say he becomes president. How you going to ignore Bernie Sanders, the president? It's going to look so whack if you do.
They couldn't. Look, they don't ignore Trump, right? They can't ignore Trump, even though I'm sure lots of people want to. You can't ignore the president.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. And I think that, I wasn't going to bring this up, but Moose has been advocating for Julian Castro, and I just think it's ridiculous and dangerous to be advocating for anyone other than Bernie right now, to be honest.
I've seen that in the chat. I wonder how serious she is, because sometimes she does try to troll a little bit. So I wonder how serious she is. I don't know.
You can never tell with her.
Yeah, I don't know.
I understand. Like, he does have some. He does have some good points, but as far as like advocating for somebody, I don't know if I just put all. I don't know if I put any of my,
He's not the worst.
Yeah, I was like, he's not the worst.
No, he's definitely not.
He's not the worst.
No.
I was going through his policies on his website and everything because of this, and I was like, okay, well, he's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, Bernie's more comprehensive on everything, and to like advocate for another candidate right now to pull votes away from him is not a good thing, because it's really important that he wins.
Yeah.
And he's the most likely to win. He's the most, he's the most viable candidate. He has the movement. It's just, it's not a good joke, in my opinion, if it is a joke.
I think the bar is Obama, and that's really who I put. I mean, the bar could be Bernie Sanders as well, but I really
not my
like
bar.
Yeah, but no. I'm just talking about how I kind of compare these candidates to Obama, and with Julian Castro, I view him as, if he was the president, he'd probably be a less impressive Obama, which Obama did not impress me too much. So I think he would just be a less effective Obama. I don't think anything real special would come from his administration.
The way I see it is that if we had a Warren presidency, that we would have to make massive effort to force her to actually get Medicare for all and a lot of policies. If we had a Julian Castro or anybody else who's, might be right of Warren, what's the point? We're not going to nothing's going to happen. It's going to be more crap, and it'll be downgraded to make the ACA more solid. And that's going to lead to another far right-wing person to follow whoever comes. If we don't actually solve the problems, we're going to get more of what's happening right now.
I agree, man.
So, I mean, that's just why I needed to bring that up. I needed to vent about that, because I don't think it's a good joke. I think it's really, I take this seriously. I think it's really important that Bernie wins. And if not Bernie, Warren, and we're going to have to make some hardcore public pressure to actually get anything. And there's a lot of people's lives literally on the line because of this.
Agreed, man. All right, Jordan.
All right. Well,
we appreciate you calling in
thanks,
as always. Man.
I appreciate you guys.
Always good hearing from you, man.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Yeah. I agree with what he says. Boy, Warren scares me, man. Without the money, without that, corrupting money that she has already said that she's going to take, I still would have been like, Warren scares me, because again, she still has been straddling the fence, especially on the subject of Medicare for all. But with the money, how is she anything, how is she anything different than an Obama or what a Clinton would have been? Is that no matter, I know Jordan says if it's her, we're going to have to do a lot of, making our case to make sure that she, does the right thing. But I don't know if these voices overweigh the money. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way it works.
Hell no.
Yeah. So if it's Warren, I think we're in for a lot of trouble. All right. So we have the next caller, 617 area code. You are on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, Michael Wells, Ben. How are you doing?
Good, man. How you doing, Ben?
Good. I was on hold for like a couple hours on Friday night. What happened?
Oh, you had called in?
Yeah. I was planning on it. I still have some notes from then, so I hope you don't mind if I kind of go back in time a little bit.
We got about just under 9 minutes.
All right, cool. One thing just before I kind of get into like some of my real points. Do you see how like Crystal Ball is like all in the news this week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's really coming on strong. She's kind of having like a big week, huh?
She is. Yeah. And that's good news, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always good having more progressives out there. And then there's like this new show with Matt Taibbi and Katie Halpert that I watched like a couple of episodes of. I mean, it hasn't been like groundbreaking or anything, but it's just something more to put into the mix. It's on like Rolling Stone, which is kind of random. For the candidates for the last debate, Joe Biden's best moment was when he said this was America. When Bernie was like, "We pay twice as much as anybody else," and he just was like, "This is America." Like that's the problem, Joe. Like you realize that.
That was a horrible retort. This is America.
That was unreal. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then Pete Buttigieg says like, "Hey, I think like the American people, I trust you to decide what insurance you want."
We talked about that. We talked about that weakness, man.
Why don't you trust the American
Why don't you trust the American people? That sounds like some like Republican.
Yeah,
it's so fake. We don't get to decide. Our bosses get to decide. And most companies, they don't even offer it to you.
Right.
So, like, well, I shouldn't say like most companies, but there's plenty of companies that don't offer insurance. They do everything they can to get around it. They give you a 32-hour work week or whatever it is, like 30-hour work week. They do everything to keep you from getting an option to get insurance. So what choice do you really have? And then when Biden's or one of them is like, "Oh, so Bernie, are you think that they're going to like compensate these people when they lose their insurance that they negotiated so hard for? You think they're going to like give them a bump in their paycheck?" And I guess Bernie's plan like actually does account for that. But like with Pete and all these like fakers, nobody ever goes after them and says like, "Pete, you think like people are going to get compensated if they go away from the company-owned plan?" So if you're going to buy into like if you're going to buy into the public option, are they going to like kick in money for you to do that? I don't know if they will or not, but it's just such a weak attack. And then
that's a really good point too, Ben. Just to stay there just for a second, because if you do go to the public option, it's the same thing. You don't have private insurance anymore, so your pay should bump up a little bit. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
But are you gonna is your employer? Maybe they'll make it so that your employer like has to give you the option of like you can get the Blue Cross or you can do the public option. I mean, Jordan already kind of hammered on the public option. I think he was right when he was saying. I agree. And Kamala Harris, all she could say was Trump, Trump, Trump. Like we all get it. Like maybe I don't know when that would have been appropriate. Like if you were Hillary Clinton and you're running the campaign last year, like, 2016, that's like when it's okay to be talking about Trump. But like at this point, we don't need to hear about Trump from Kamala Harris, and she needs to move on. She needs to shut it down. I mean, like when somebody at one of her rallies used like a really derogatory term, and she was like, "Well said." It's like, no, that's not well said. And I mean, as soon as that clip came out, when she was like, you know, less schools, more, what is it, more, less jails, more schools, like build more schools, less jails. And she made a joke about that. Like, do you think that's a joke, lady? So, like, as soon as that clip came out, she was done. She needs to hang it up and just cut the damage because it's only going to get worse from here.
That kind of strategy, just talking about Trump, it would, I think it would land better if there were less people in the race, you know, because if there's less people in the race, maybe only 2 or 3, then that person might be viewed as like, okay, well, they're seeing themselves as the candidate and they have a really good chance. So they're taking it to Trump right now. You know, maybe it would land better, but 1 out of 10 on that stage and she's just talking to Trump. No, you got to make your case as to why you're better than all these other 9 people.
You're just getting ahead of yourself.
That's right. That's the point.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
And then with Bernie Sanders and his Medicare for All and Pete Buttigieg saying like, oh, no, you know, well, I want to let the American people decide. Well, don't you think this election is letting the American people decide? And what are we going to do? Not do it if 10% of the population doesn't want like this glorious health insurance, we're going to just keep it from everybody else. So Pete needs to be quiet, him and his 2%. And the only reason Joe Biden has any sort of support has nothing to do with his health care plan. It's despite his health care plan. And the only people who support him are those boomers who already have like that Medicare in sight. So they want to kind of like, what is it called? Like cut the rope behind them or whatever, or tip over the ladder because the boomers are all set and they know we're all paying for their Medicare. So they don't want to like help everybody else out. Well, if Bernie wins this election, or if Elizabeth Warren's like Lucy from the Peanuts with the football, with like her,
yeah. So when you try to kick it, you take the ball away. Talk about that. Yeah.
But that's like her, like right Medicare for all in that ball. But like I don't think she's like quite that devious. But obviously, and Jordan said this too. Like when it comes time for Nancy Pelosi to have a vote, do you think she's going to be in Nancy Pelosi's face? Like spit coming out everywhere saying, you're going to pass this damn bill. You're going to whip them into line. No. She's going to say like, oh, well, we tried. Okay, let's go have lunch. So, and then like the rest of them don't even get a mention from me except for Amy Klobuchar who came up in the news on
Bill Maher.
That guy's name?
Bill Maher.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
You know, I'm looking hard at Amy Klobuchar. Are you? That's interesting. Like, what the hell? Where did that come from? That's what you come up with? Like, are you kidding me? Maybe she could be like, I don't know, somewhere, something. But like,
he must have.
We're in trouble.
Whatever he smoked before that show, somebody must have like laced it with something.
I don't want any of whatever he's smoking.
I don't know. I'm like, whatever he got the hookup with somebody, but they put something in it.
The bad thing is he's a comedian, right? But that John, he wasn't being funny though. He didn't think he was being funny.
He was being straight serious.
I'm looking hard at Amy Klobuchar.
So I know we only have like a couple more minutes, or even less probably, but we have 28 million people without insurance in this country. So for people who are whining and complaining that they don't get to pick their insurance plan, like little PD thinks that people want to go shopping for insurance, we have 28 million people with no insurance. And then the question always comes up, do you know what it costs to go into like an ER? Like you think you go into an ER and it costs you $600? Maybe if you have like a splinter or something, it's going to cost you $600. What if you go in and you have cancer? What if you go in and you have a broken rib? Like you're going to be out 14, 15 grand. And for a lot of people, that's like, you know, people don't have bankruptcy lawyers. So you end up going like, you get into a hole for years. I think I was like kind of like covered like most of what I had to say. Sorry I was talking so fast, but I only had a couple minutes. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, it was perfectly understandable. Yeah, you got your points out, man.
Oh man, anybody else calling in that I should let you guys get going, or do you have any feedback?
No, we got about a minute left.
Yeah, no, I missed you guys the last couple of weeks. I did want to call in, but I didn't want to like raise my hand on it because I respect you guys, like, you know, doing it on a Friday night and just want to kind of like shut it down after. But I kind of wondered, like, maybe you guys could kind of close on this. How do you prep for the shows? Because like I'm always so impressed with like how much you guys like new stuff you bring up and how well prepared you are. So maybe if you could, I mean, I would definitely be interested if you don't mind, just to kind of like give us a little feedback. But I'll let you guys go and kind of hear what you have to say.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you calling in, man. Hope to hear from you next week.
All right, yeah. You guys do well.
You too, man. Care. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Preparation. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing every show. It's just a lot of research. It's just a lot and
just sometimes just like reading. Sometimes it's like we may not know what we're talking about until that day. Sometimes like there's some like a heavy news day, and sometimes it's like we don't know what we're going to be covering until like the beginning of that day. The show day. Sometimes hours.
Because I mean, you know, of course we do the show 7 o'clock. So I mean, of course there's going to be something newsworthy that happens. And you have to incorporate into what you were already going to talk about. Maybe you have to drop something. You know.
And so and with a day in between, like I guess if you're talking about Tuesday's show, we have stuff that you know became news on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and Monday.
True. And we have to figure out if it's still newsworthy, if it's still relevant to talk about. You know, does it outweigh something that happened on Monday or Tuesday?
And so it's you know sometimes these topics are reoccurring. So a lot of what goes into any kind of reading about something is kind of very quick because we can use what we've learned about that topic before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, to form an analysis. So now as far as like the clips go.
Yeah, well, look, it depends on, of course it depends on what we're talking about. You know, the images that you see, whether it be videos or, you know, quotes or, you know, Twitter images, you know, just, you know, like a comment from Twitter or something like that. I guess that's more of the like tedious work because you actually have to either take a screenshot or you have to get a video and clip that video, then save it and then transfer it. Because, you know, I do a lot of work on the Apple and then we got to transfer it to the other computer, you know, so that's the tedious work, especially when it comes to the debates. Man, that takes a grip of time because not only, you know, am I watching it on the night, you know, just to, you know, jot down some notes about, you know, what happened and maybe some videos that we want to clip, but then probably the next day, because damn, I don't do that at night. The next day, then you have to download the entire debate, and then you have to find the moments where, you know, you want to clip, and then, you know, clip that, clip this. Usually we have at least like 20 clips that we want to show, so you have to clip it. And then, you know, save this one, save that one, save that one, save that one. And saving them takes an amount of time as well.
Making sure they have the right name.
Like, so...
But like that's for the debates.
Yeah, and the debates are way more involved.
Every show we may not have clips. Yeah. I mean, like there's some easier stuff like, you know, getting like I guess Twitter posts. That's easy.
Right.
Like... But as far as like, we don't really even talk about the stories.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, we don't really even talk about the stories a lot. Like, you know, you may send me something. I may send him something.
Man, look at this ridiculous
Look at this stuff. And I may say one thing or we say some things back and forth. No, we're going to talk about on the show. We don't really talk about, we don't talk to each other about like any kind of points we're going to make. We just kind of come to the show ready to know what we're going to talk about and just kind of flows.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, by this point we know each other. So I mean, it's not that I know what he's going to say about it, but I know he's going to have his own particular take on it. So, you know, I know he's going to bring something different to what I bring. So whatever I research and whatever maybe some quotes that I get or some background information I get, usually that's not what he gets. He gets something entirely different. So it's not like we ever, you know, kind of like repeat ourselves. You know, I'm stepping on your toes, he's stepping on mine. It's just, you know, it just flows. We have the luxury of doing that. But we do a lot of research. We just don't, you know, take one story and just read that and be like, okay, I got everything that I need from that. No, it might be some background information that we do need to get. Some person's history, you know, where they came from, or, you know, some other situation that's involved or connected to the story and stuff like that. We just, you know, like I said, we try to be as informed as possible. Whatever we talk about, we try to know at least everything relevant to know. Because you know, if we don't know that, then we're going to sound like some fools.
And, you know, actually, if sometimes, like, a lot of what we, you know, I guess, I don't know, have to talk about a subject, we don't get to talk about.
Yeah.
We don't actually, like, make all of our points that we actually want to make because the show has got to fit into a certain time slot. If we just talked, about a topic like fully, then
we can go.
Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of the points like we could make, we just don't have the time. So I don't know. I mean,
but yeah, that's basically the prep. Like I said, mostly it's just. Mostly it's just the same thing that we know our audience does, and they stay abreast of the issues. We may go deeper into it than maybe most of you. I don't know. I have no idea, but I know the information that's out there, anybody can get. It's not like we have some special access or anything like that. It's just we look for it. We look for what's relevant, and we try to have that ready so that we can tell our audience. So that's just what we do. Like I said, I don't want to get up here and sound stupid. I don't believe we've ever had an in-depth conversation about the stock market because I don't know the stock market. To be honest, I don't know a lot of information about the stock market. I've never, invested in one particular company or I've, especially, for high school, you have econ government and then the econ, part of the year. I remember we had to pick a stock and follow it. But that was many years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember a lot from
I do remember that, man.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I know, I'm pretty sure my stock didn't make money. I think there was one person that really was interested. One person in the class I remember that was actually interested in that task. And whatever stock they picked, they made some money. Not actual money, but still, they made their stock.
Their stock
did the best, and I was like, damn, well, that person was paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't care really. But no, it's actually important information. It's not something that I have delved into. So I would say that area is probably my weakest point. And talking about issues, that's probably my weakest point. Talking about anything else, whether it be, healthcare or the military or, even just other countries and, how they operate, criminal justice, whatever, I think I have something to give on those fronts. And if I don't, like I said, I can definitely clean up, any kind of spots that I have, in my information. But the stock market, no, I cannot speak intelligently about the stock market. So that will not be part of my analysis anytime soon. All right. So definitely want to get a shout out to our callers, Sav, Jordan, and Ben. Thank you for calling in. I know it's been a while since we were able to do that, but it was definitely good to hear from you. And our super chatters of the evening, man, we've never heard from Gear Randon. Man, and I'm not, not to put you on blast and nothing like that. Well, no, we do put him on blast because we always shout him out. Yo, Gear Randon, thank you.
We put him on blast in a different way.
Yeah, in a different way. Maybe he's not the one that, wants to get on the phone. That's cool, too. Not everybody has to get on the phone. We do like to encourage our viewers to, definitely, weigh in if you have something to say, But it's cool to, kind of sit back and, watch the stream, too. So, I just wonder about hearing from Gear Random because we always see the support, you know what I'm saying? So whenever you see somebody that supports you so much, so consistently, it's like, man, I want to hear from that guy, you know what I'm saying? So, no pressure though, no pressure. Try 3 included the message 5. I don't know what that means. Maybe it was, pertaining something that we were, pertaining to something we were talking about. I have no idea. I don't know at what point that came out. Let me see if we can go up and see if anything is 5. Nope, don't know. Sorry, don't know what 5 means. Anyway, Ben out front. We appreciate you guys, Mike and Will. Strong chat group too. I think that is accurate, man. I think we have a very strong chat group. On the last show, we had a lot more people on the last show. We don't know what that was about. We definitely appreciated it, and we hated that it ended prematurely. We weren't able to, finish the story and, hop on the lines. Maybe we would have had even more people, maybe some new people call in. So I don't know what that was about, but we're going to keep going strong and try to invite new people to the stream and more people into this chat section and more people to call in and agree or disagree with us. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter which one it is. We have a lot of people agreeing with us. You can disagree. I know we have some haters in the chat sometimes, but they don't ever call in. Or let's say it's rare for them to call in. I won't say that it's never. L Train being L Train. L Train being L Train. Trying to get me to take the bait. Trying to get me to take the bait. L Train. You know what I'm saying? Jets versus Pats this weekend. Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware that the junior varsity team is playing the Patriots. I'm aware. I'm aware. You know what I'm looking forward to? Draft day next week. Next year. Draft day next year. I'm looking forward to draft day because I think we're gonna have like a top 3 pick or something. So looking forward to that. Looking forward. No doubt. Jets. Jets. I'll save the rest of it until we're actually good. Gene, remember hippie chick, not so sisterly. Yeah, we remember that. Remember that hippie chick, something, whatever, the one that got you all riled up. Yeah,
that chick.
Hipster, something like that. Yeah, that was one that actually called in and disagreed. Yeah.
Oh man, that was whack.
Yeah.
She was whack, man.
All right, let's see if anything else we need to highlight in this chat section. Who is Tanya? Oh, Tanya, okay. Tanya Delaney, okay. Let's see. Boob and nose jobs. Okay, I must be.
You talking about why do people get insurance? I think Gene was asking like why do people get insurance, and that was kind of.
Okay. Yeah, that was like, I came in a mid-conversation. I just saw boob and nose job. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of people talking about healthcare. Calvin said earlier, we basically have 2 Republican parties in this country. One is a far right-wing party. The other one is center-right. The corporate interests have done a very good job of pushing out progress. That is very true. Yeah, party names don't matter. It's about what they represent. And I don't believe we have 2 parties that, actually represent people. I mean, they do represent their own interest and the interest of the very wealthy and the very connected. But we don't have a party that is actually representative of people. And that's what I'm saying, man. Elizabeth Warren scares the hell out of me because, boy, she many times she sounds like a strong progressive. Many times. But how you actually let the words fly through your mouth that you're going to take money. You always talk about corruption in politics. Corruption as it concerns the corporations. She was like the face of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Mm-hmm. She's like the face of that, right? And what was she trying to do with that bureau? She's trying to advocate for consumers, make sure that consumers are not screwed over by big business, by big corporations, by big banks. If she was bought off by big banks, she wouldn't have done that. We know that she wouldn't have done that. So she understands the corrupting nature of money.
Hey, and she explained this concept when she was criticizing Hillary Clinton. I think we played that video.
We did. So again, how she is able to say that I'm not going to unilaterally disarm myself and I'm going to take all the money because that's the way to get elected. And I guess she would add on to that, though I didn't hear her say that, but I'm sure she would add on to that. I'm not going to be personally corrupted, though. I'm going to work for the people. That's never how it works. Like Bernie said in 2016, these corporations, these wealthy people, they're not just handing out money for nothing. They're expecting a return on their investment. You're telling me that you're going to take the money but not return
the favor.
Yeah, not return.
Not to return the favor.
Come on, man. Like, nobody buys that.
Because I guarantee you,
her supporters do.
But and it's not just that they will be expecting a return. That's not all that's going to happen. You know, like let's just say, in another reality, you know, she gets this money, and she don't do him any favors. She don't do him any favors. She doesn't pass legislation, you know, that goes against, you know, their wishes, or she doesn't pass legislation.
She spits in their face.
She spits in their face. That's a better way. Yeah. You think that they won't retaliate?
Well, I'd be scared for her.
Yeah. No, it's like this. See, what'll happen is it's not that they won't just give her money anymore. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna fund a media campaign against her. They're gonna like start to, you know, seed all these journalists and seed all these hosts on, you know, in the media, and she's gonna have some scandals. She's gonna have some scandals. They're gonna, you know, start putting people on to talk bad about her and shit.
Oh, I'm envisioning something a lot more nefarious than that. I'm scared for her life. If she actually smacks the hand away from her that was actually paying her, that got her in office, she smacks that hand away, she spits in the faces of these people, I'm scared for her life at that point. You don't mess around with money like that. Nah, you don't mess around with money. You don't mess around with these people that are paying you that money. You spit in their faces.
Yeah, it's not gonna be they're just not gonna fund you anymore. It's like, hey, we're not gonna give that person money anymore. No, it's war because they got the money to kind of shape a narrative around you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't think that would, like what we're describing to you would see that in like a movie or a TV show. I don't think it just would exist in fantasy land. I think that would be reality. They would want to actually act out. They would actually want to seek to harm you. And I don't think it would just be in the media or to your reputation. I think they would try to physically harm you or maybe somebody close to you. And see that, look, if you're real, you don't take the money. If you're real, you don't even need to take the money. Bernie Sanders doesn't need to take the money, right? He doesn't have to take the money, and he doesn't take the money. We talked about it. His campaign has reached 1 million individual donors faster than anybody else. Faster than anybody else. And this doesn't include corporations, big money. Doesn't include that whatsoever. We're talking about regular people. Tell me why you need to take the money. You don't think with the money from regular people you can beat Trump? From regular people? Really, you need corporations to do that? Come on, man. I don't buy
And
that.
guess what? If you do, that actually highlights a flaw in the system. If you actually do need that highlights the very flaw in our system.
Marlon said, yeah, Elizabeth Warren used to be a Republican. That's who she is. That could be who she is, man. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who Elizabeth Warren is right now. She has, honestly, she has a lot of good ideas. Yeah. And she, you know, going back to, you know, when we kind of first got introduced to her on the national scale of things, had some good ideas. Always had some good ideas. Always seemed to fight for people. You can't tell me she's fighting for people if she's taking big money, man. You can't. Nah, man. I'm sorry, man. If Bernie Sanders was doing the same thing, in 2016, if Bernie Sanders had a Bernie Victory Fund, what would you say about it?
This doesn't look like, you know, something that's on the up and up. It looks like somebody is trying to give Bernie an fair advantage. or if he started out with like 600 superdelegates before anybody voted, I'd be like, something's off about that. Or if a number of the superdelegates voted against the wishes of the people in that state, like, you know, I would think something was up. I would say, that's not fair. I couldn't ignore that. You know what I'm saying? So to ignore that, it means that you really don't care about democracy. It means you really don't care about the process. It's just your person won, so it's all good. It's fair.
It's more to it than just rhetoric, man. It's actions. And you do dirty stuff, you have dirty actions, man. It says something about your character. It says something about how you're gonna govern. Whatever. That's where we're gonna leave it. So anyway, all right. It's the end of our week on LTMB. So we will be back next week on Tuesday. 7 p.m. same time. L-Train said Yang would make a great cabinet member, if not president. Bernier Yang has my vote. Now, I can't stand Harris. Worried about Biden and Warren. I don't think Yang would be a bad addition to like a cabinet. I don't think he'd be a bad addition. I mean,
labor.
Yeah, advisor or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know, there's some areas where I disagree with Yang, but I think he's I don't know. Overall, I think he's pretty strong. Overall. Oh
yeah, he has some sort of problematic takes, but
yeah.
I do think it's interesting, like we mentioned last show, that he is polling ahead of Kamala Harris in California.
Yeah, that's wow.
And I know, kind of a side point connected to that is, I do think, you know, I'm going to be interested to see how Tulsi Gabbard proceeds. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why am I mentioning that?
How she proceeds?
Yeah, because I'm mentioning Kamala Harris. Because I'm mentioning Kamala Harris and how she's slipping in the polls.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how Tulsi Gabbard proceeds, because that's been her favorite target.
Oh, so
and all I'm saying,
those two have been linked.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I guess as she tanks, people have expected Tulsi to rise,
and that's not really happened. But I mean, Kamala has been falling for some time.
Yeah.
I don't think you can attribute Kamala's recent fall to Tulsi Gabbard, though.
I don't think so.
But I will say, I think it'll be pointless for Tulsi Gabbard to continue to, you know, attack Kamala Harris. Not because I feel sorry for Kamala Harris, but because it looks like Kamala Harris,
she's not somebody to attack.
It looks like she's not the biggest threat anymore.
Oh, she's not a threat. It doesn't look like she's a threat at this point. If you told me that she was polling much higher in her own state of California, then I'd say okay. I mean, no matter what nationally it said, if she was polling maybe top 3 in California, I'd be like, well, okay. I mean, California is pretty big, and you never know how winning a primary in a state like that, you know, what the effect will be nationally in other states, like how people will perceive that. So, yeah, but that's not where we're at. She's behind Yang. So, I don't. If there is any more attacks on Kamala Harris from Tulsi Gabbard, I think that is bad strategy from her and her campaign team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she should move on to somebody else.
She should. Maybe Biden. But
I was about to say.
That doesn't seem like she wants to go there. It doesn't seem like she wants to go there for some reason. I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't know. Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me, because I don't know. I don't know. I ain't say nothing. I'm just saying I don't know. I don't understand. It's coming up question marks for me.
Empty.
Just question marks. I don't have no idea. Anyway, everybody, appreciate you being here for tonight's episode. We'll try to clip some of these past shows up, put them on YouTube. I know we keep saying that, but try to do that. What else? Don't know what's going on this week.
I was about to say I don't know what's going on either.
Don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Just got a friend request from Dwayne Cleophas Wayne. A lot of our viewers probably won't recognize that name. That's a reference from an old TV show.
You actually got a friend remark from him?
It was somebody. No, it's an old friend. I'm trying to figure who this person is because I can't tell by the profile pic. But yeah, His Facebook name is Dwayne Cleophas Wayne, and it's Dr. Dwayne Wayne in parentheses.
Doctor.
It's somebody I know. Like, I knew his person in high school, but I can't tell by the.
Was he a doctor? Did he get his doctorate?
He may have.
Mary went to South Korea.
South
to
Korea,
work?
yeah.
Or, did they?
Or no.
Were they going to?
No,
I think they never did.
I can't remember, man. They those last episodes, they try to be like so like they try to add some sort of like paranormal type stuff into it. It was weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
If you're too young,
A Different World. That was a show.
That was a show.
Dwayne Cleophas Wayne.
Dwayne Wayne with them glasses.
I wanted them glasses so bad, man.
I never did get a pair though.
Yeah.
Never did get a pair. But anyway, we'll be back next week. Hope we have a lot of people in the stream. So again, like I said, we can just invite more people into this this environment we have. Everybody, hope you have a good weekend. Hope you have a good night.
Thank you too, Jen. Gene, thank you too, Gene. Had to say that because you enthusiastic in the chat, but
no doubt.
Thank you, Gene. Thank everyone for
appreciate that. Appreciate everybody.
Apparently, you're gonna call in next show.
Okay, well, Gene's gonna call.
That's what she said.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold her to that.
Yeah.
Tuesday, she said.
We'll be looking forward to that. Appreciate you sharing formation too. I saw that you were a little sleepy earlier. Couldn't keep your eyes open, but you made it to the end, so we appreciate you. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Good night, everybody. Peace out.
Damn, son.
Switch, nigga.